Shalom family, welcome back here my friends. Here is a compilation of mass UFO or drone news reportings and sightings. I'll be providing more of these in due time. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share these videos with your friends and family. YouTube has this channel shadow banned. So instead we need every help to get the message of truth out there. So with that being said, thank you and God bless. Shalom.
The U.S. Air Force says unidentified drones have been spotted over 4 joint U.S. and U.K. military bases in England. The mysterious drones have repeatedly appeared for over a week now. Stephanie Bennett is live in London. So, Stephanie, this is pretty disturbing. What do we know about these drones?
They're describing the incidents as unusual and say this is a serious set of circumstances.
You had this hearing, of course, the other day, and we're past the point. Yes, aliens exist, whatever. We have reverse engineered their craft. We have these materials. We know this now. That's on the congressional record. We have this stuff. Like, let's move the conversation beyond that.
Can I ask you a question? So there is this there's this process of recovering of these craft, whatever they are, right? And the so-called biologics that reside within, supposedly. And I'm sure you're aware of this. So how exactly are there so many crashed UAPs? What is that? They have the technology to, travel 150 knots underwater, but they somehow crash a lot. I mean, it doesn't kind of make any sense. They just have like bad GPS or something. It's like they possess technology that defies the laws of physics, but they crash. So I just don't think that makes any sense. And what I believe is true is that these recoveries have been the result of the summoning of these craft. And that's the word that was relayed to me, the summoning of these craft. So, if you're summoning, what does that even mean? You're talking about a phenomenon that exists in the spiritual realm. I mean, that's more like a seance than a science expedition, right? It doesn't make it any less real, by the way, but it changes the category.
At a Pentagon briefing, Fox's chief national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin asked whether the drones appear to be those of hobbyists or something more sinister and concerning.
Again, it would be, premature to draw any conclusions. We've got to see what these are. I mean, it's entirely possible that it could be hobbyists or something else. We just got to look into it. So.
I want to ask you about one other issue, and that is the appearance of drones, a number of them, over bases in the UK, which also house U.S. military forces. Drones that one senior U.S. official said, quote, "The drones do not appear to be those of hobbyists." This follows drones appearing over Langley Air Force Base in Eastern Virginia, the Norfolk Naval Station in Virginia as well. Any idea who or what is behind this?
I've seen this reporting. I couldn't tell you who, but I am confident it is an adversary force. That is, this isn't just some, to your point, they called it a hobbyist. This isn't someone just checking things out and playing around to see if they can make their little remotely piloted aircraft do its function. I am sure that there are nefarious actors behind this. I couldn't tell you which ones.
We do know that the sightings started last week on November 20th, and they have really ranged in size, in style, and also the amount that we've been seeing over that last week or so.
It's very unlikely that some random person would just be flying these things around significant and serious British and U.S. security facilities, and that there have been no repercussions only increases my view that it is likely a bad actor.
It's something that the department has been looking closely at in terms of how it applies to our facilities, our personnel, whether it's in combat zones or outside of combat zones. But in terms of these particular incidents in the UK versus the ones in the States, again, I don't want to speculate that there's any connection.
One of the members, I don't want to betray secrets, but one of the, and I think this is correct, the members of Congress you just mentioned, I won't say which, pushed hard on the UAP Disclosure Act of 2022, which has never kind of been enacted, and as a result was primaried by his own party, which is the kind of maximum punishment in electoral politics. So there is a massive, we cannot overstate the effort in place to prevent disclosure. And the question really is why. And so, yeah, these technologies clearly exist. It's not clear to me who possesses them. I'm pretty sure no one's profiting off of them. So, you can construct all kinds of explanations for why. But, everyone I've known, which is every president who's been really read into this stuff, is unwilling to disclose what he learned. And you have to ask, why is that? So I think the truth is, and I haven't gotten to the truth, but I've gotten close enough that I'm like, ooh. I think it's very, very disruptive, way disruptive. It's not just that Lockheed is making a lot of money on anti-gravity technology, or, we've been visited by people from their planet or whatever. I mean, I think there's more there. I mean, there is more there. So, and I'm not, exactly sure. I'm not going to speculate, but I think it's a big deal. I think it's a bigger deal than we often allow for it being.
Jen.
General Ryder, there's been a number of incidents in England with drones targeting U.S. bases, kind of swarming U.S. bases, challenging security. Do you believe they have hostile intent? Do you believe they were sent by a foreign adversary? What is happening what can you tell us about these drones?
What I would tell you, Jennifer, is that they are being actively monitored. Installation leaders have determined so far that none of these incursions impact the base residents, the facilities, or the assets that we have on those bases. We're, of course, continuing to work with host nation authorities and our mission partners to ensure the safety of our personnel, our facilities, and the equipment. The bottom line is it's something that we're going to take seriously. We're continuing to look into it, but as of right now has not had any significant mission impact.
Why not shoot them down?
Well, I won't get into force protection measures. We, of course, always maintain the right to defend ourselves if we deem something to be a threat. But again, we'll continue to work with the local host nation authorities there.
Honestly, do you think it's linked to the drones that were sighted at 3 or 4 different locations back in December of last year that we reported on recently on the state side?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate and draw unnecessary connections. Again, this is something that we'll look into.
Yeah, and for now, the U.S. Air Force says the investigation, of course, is still ongoing. And right now, all eyes are on the skies. Julie?
We start this without any preconceived notions, but understanding that we're in a world of discovery. And we, NASA, have taken for the first time concrete action to seriously look into UAP. And this independent study team is exactly that. It's independent. They work to develop recommendations about how NASA could better examine them from a scientific perspective. And the top takeaway from the study is that there is a lot more to learn. The NASA independent study team did not find any evidence that UAP have an extraterrestrial origin. But we don't know what these UAP are. That's why I'm announcing that NASA has appointed a NASA director of UAP research. They are being tasked with developing and overseeing the implementation of NASA's vision for UAP research. We will use NASA's expertise to work with other agencies to analyze UAP. We will use AI and machine learning to search the skies for anomalies, as we have been searching the heavens and will continue to search the heavens for habitability. And NASA will do this transparently. So while today is a significant...
FBI is now getting involved in an investigation into these mysterious, apparently small car-sized drones that people are spotting flying over New Jersey in the middle of the night. Look at this. One woman there took the video you're seeing. So that's it. It looks like it's flying pretty low. And from that perspective, it looks very large. Right? And all those lights in the sky that you see there, see those lights? Those are apparently drones as well, they say, seeming to fly in a V formation. with the whole saga stressing people out nearby.
The FBI is investigating these mysterious drone sightings in Morris County. Residents say they've been appearing more frequently in recent weeks, and tonight many people want to know exactly where they're coming from.
Now, we also reached out to Picatinny Arsenal because of reports that the drones were flying over the military base. So far, we have not heard back.
Yeah, Gilma, this one's really a head scratcher for families who live nearby. They are especially concerned because there's a military base not far from here. There's also a number of residential neighborhoods that for weeks now have been seeing these drones almost every single night. And as police investigate, now we've learned the FBI has joined in as well.
That's not a plane.
The mysterious drones keep popping up in the late night hours over Morris County. Mike Walsh first spotted them in mid-November. Now he sees them all the time.
We've been seeing them every night, except Thanksgiving they seem to take the night off.
Pay close attention to the three-pronged lights.
We're all completely unnerved. I didn't sleep last night. When I would get up and look out my window at 2 a.m., 4 a.m., they were still hovering. I got up at 5:30 this morning and they were still there. As the sun was starting to rise, they went back in the same direction they came from. And I expect they'll be back as soon as the sun goes down tonight.
But they're definitely keeping an eye on the situation. There have been a number of reports of these unidentified aerial phenomena, Hallie, across the country and on the West Coast. So, the government is concerned about this.
Tonight, we're looking into posts being spread on social media. They claim the James Webb Space Telescope spotted a large object about 10 light years away moving toward Earth. The posts claim that the telescope captured the object changing its trajectory in an unnatural manner, meaning it must be some sort of extraterrestrial life. But there is currently no evidence of this. The website Snopes did a major fact check, and the only sources of information on the object are UFO and alien content creators. There hasn't been any official word on it from NASA, other space agencies, or any branch of Congress.
But people want to know, what the heck are they and what are they doing? It's normal to see red and green lights in December, unless they're coming from mysterious drones in the night sky.
It's kind of unsettling. They're not up for 15 minutes, they're up for hours. Some are very big, probably the size of a car.
Mike Walsh says he's seen hundreds of them over the past 2 weeks from his Randolph backyard and has the video to prove it.
They kind of go slow, they come towards you, then they'll change direction a little. They're all going different ways.
Today we learned the FBI is now investigating.
It was going pretty slow. It had 3 blinking lights, red and green.
Christian Velasquez says he saw it too after leaving work the other day. Like everyone else, he wants to know what's going on.
I don't know. It's weird. It's concerning that there's multiple of these being spotted at the same time. It's not just one of these drones flying around. It's 5 at the same time, and they're all around Morris County, and it's definitely concerning.
Mike says he first heard what sounded like a helicopter from inside his home. By the time he stepped outside, he knew it was something else. He contacted police, but so far he hasn't gotten many answers.
I'd really like to see one land and be able to report it, but they're up for a long time. I don't know, where they're taking off from, where they're landing from.
This is a video of the Morris County drones with characteristic triangle lights.
The sightings have exploded on social media, some casting doubt, others concern.
People were thinking like UFOs or people are being spied on.
Do you have any concerns about these drones?
No.
And your reaction to it has been?
That's crazy. I wonder what they're looking for.
It's all over Facebook and all over our website page.
What's your reaction to all of it?
Well, it's a little scary. I'm like, what is it?
New tonight, where did this drone come from? That's what police in New Jersey are trying to figure out. The CBS News Confirm team did verify the social media post, which was taken near Chatham around 8:15 last night.
We need to get the panel's opinion here tonight. The Morris County Prosecutor's Office says the drone activity was also observed by law enforcement members on patrol, and they are monitoring and investigating the situation. Authorities say there's no known threat to public safety. They're urging anybody with information to contact the police. What do you guys think?
Do you think it's some teenager?
Real or imagined?
Backyard?
Yeah. That's a real deal.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's got lots of lights.
I think it's some kids.
Lots of lights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
gut. Yeah, no doubt.
Right. To be continued.
The FBI's Newark field office would only say it is working with other law enforcement agencies to figure out what's going on, but at the moment doesn't have enough information to share.
A lot of people want to know what's going on. I think more people are coming around to that, oh, this is going on and maybe it's not good.
Nancy Reed didn't want to show her face on camera, but says she's seen the drones every night since November 18th.
I can see them right out my bedroom window. I can watch them. Last night was about 5:30, so it was earlier. But it's normally anywhere between like 7:30 and 10:30, they're out here. Never during the day. Nobody ever sees them during the day.
One thing she hasn't seen is the normal air traffic she's used to, and she doesn't understand why.
We're in the fly pattern going to like Morristown Airport and Newark, and we used to see a lot of planes coming back and forth. You don't see them anymore.
Look, there's no indication at this point that they're a threat to the public. We'd certainly like to know what's going on, and they are encouraging people to call these in.
Why would the FBI be getting involved in this here? Air Force says unidentified drones have been spotted over 4 joint U.S. and U.K. military bases in England. The mysterious drones have repeatedly appeared for over a week now.
We do know that the sightings started last week on November 20th, and they have really ranged in size, in style, and also the amount that we've been seeing over that last week or so. Now, a senior British official confirmed to Fox that the UK has deployed about 60 troops, including counter-drone specialists, to help determine who is behind this and to help defend the air bases amid fears it's a potential coordinated operation. They're describing the incidents as unusual and say this is a serious set of circumstances.
But if we take a step back and look at where things have gone in the last couple of years, we had spy balloons flying over military bases in this country, and now we've got drones spying on military bases, U.S. bases in the UK. I don't know if you know a lot about drones. Not really going to ask you about that. But when we look at these are strategic bases. One of them, I believe it's the Lakenheath, is considered the foundation of the U.S. Air Force's combat capability in Europe. What does that say about our posture if our enemies think they can spy on us this blatantly?
Well, first of all, I love that the first thing the Pentagon did was rule out hobbyists. Right? I mean, swarms of drones happened the day after the Sparrow missiles, which are British, went into Russia, and then the ATACMS went into Russia from Ukraine. That's like the first thing we do. We rule out the spy balloon wasn't the Wizard of Oz that flew over the United States for 7 days from California.
But new numbers this morning from May of 2023 to June of 2024 show 757 new sightings, with 21 of them that cannot be explained. And all 21 mysterious objects were seen near national security sites, witnessed by multiple people or captured on sensors or videos. While the Pentagon does not know what they were, they are quick to steer the public away from little green men.
To date, the department has discovered no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology.
But at a hearing this week, the former head of the Pentagon program investigating these objects says nothing should be ruled out.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs, yes or no?
Yes.
Were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft, yes or no?
Yes. Let me be clear. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations.
While Pentagon officials do stress that they have no evidence of any of this being alien technology, they have not ruled that out and are continuing to investigate every unexplained sighting.
So residents in Morris County tell me this has been happening every single night with the exception of Thanksgiving over the past few weeks. One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed times. Then they say the clock went back to normal after they drove off. Witnesses also talk about the size of these drones. Some say they can be as big as a small car. Despite the growing concern, though, Morris County officials insist, quote, there continues to be no known threat to public safety as the mystery continues.
Okay, keep us posted. This is bizarre. We need to know more. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. You wrote an op-ed about this. This happened a year ago. We're just now learning about it. Pretty shocking. What do we know about these drones?
Well, Will, first of all, thanks for having me on. But these drones were large. Some of them were as large as 20 feet long.
Mystery drones were spotted flying over U.S. military bases in Virginia last year. for 17 straight days.
3 months earlier, mysterious drones were also spotted flying over a sensitive nuclear facility in Nevada. It is not clear whether these incidents were related.
They also had smaller quadcopters that came down off of the larger mothership drones that hovered just above the ground. This happened for 17 straight nights at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, starting on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions I need to understand. First, so you said they were large enough that they probably would have had to been launched from sea, from a ship off the coast. It seems inconceivable that would escape America's attention in terms of our surveillance, our spying from a foreign power. So I don't know how this happens or how. I don't know how. I guess, Chuck, I don't know how big a threat I'm supposed to take this as. I don't know who could have possibly done this.
Apparently, the Pentagon has no idea who these drones are. U.S. officials still claim that they don't know who was flying the drones or how to stop the drones.
And, Will, it gets worse. Just a couple of months earlier, there were several mystery drone flights over our nuclear testing range in Nevada, just north of Las Vegas. And again, nothing was done. And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their homes as if to say, hey, we know where you are.
After flying over Langley Air Force Base, the drones headed south over an area that includes the home base for the Navy's SEALs Team 6 and Naval Station Norfolk. John, this is just incredible.
The drone mystery remains unsolved, Harris, but it certainly has the attention of Pentagon brass.
This is over my house right now. What is that?
That's the question on everyone's mind as this object, and at times apparent clusters of objects, hovered over northern New Jersey last night. Multiple sightings were captured on cell phone video in the evening and matched similar images seen over the last 2 weeks.
The drone mystery over New Jersey, seen flying near President-elect Trump's Bedminster golf course and near a military base.
That's not a plane. Mysterious drones have been popping up in the night sky over New Jersey.
This is a video of the Morris County drones with characteristic triangle lights.
Residents sharing eerie videos like these on social media. Mike Walsh says he's been seeing them since mid-November.
It's like close encounters for people in New Jersey.
For the past several weeks, they've been spotting possible drones that are flying overhead. No one seems to know what they are. The FBI is looking into the sightings and is asking people to share photos and videos with them. So look at this. Sometimes it appears to be one large drone, possibly the size of a car. Whoa. Other times it's several objects flying in formation.
I can see 3 drones just in this view. There is another one over here and another one back here.
And still little to no explanation.
The fact that our police, the county, the state, no one has anything to say about it, I think is crazy.
We went in search of answers Wednesday and learned this from the mayor of Mendham Borough.
I know that these drones are not new. They've been going on for a while now, like well over a year. It's just increasing. It's at a much more rapid level.
So there's a man in Morris County who took this video from last week. Large drones or even a fixed wing aircraft, he says, the size of a car. He started noticing these multiple drone-looking aircraft in the sky at night starting last month.
He reported them to local police but hasn't received any explanation. Other residents say the drones seem to fly in coordinated groups, appearing every night except Thanksgiving and disappearing as soon as the sun comes up.
Just looked out the window at 6 o'clock and there were 7 or 8 hovering right near my home. It's a complete violation of privacy and unnerving. I couldn't sleep last night.
The drone sightings continued last night over Morris County and have now been spotted in other areas of the state. Where they're coming from and who's controlling them remains a mystery.
This is bizarre. There's more over there. Look. Holy cow. Look, guys. Yeah. There's one there, one there, one there. Oh.
The drone sightings are near the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, a frequent overnight stop for President-elect Trump. Drones had been banned over Trump's golf course, and now the FBI is investigating. Residents are frustrated at the lack of information from authorities.
We want to know what's happening, and we want it to stop.
People are unnerved about it because there's no answer to who they are, who's controlling these drones,
and why there's so many of them.
Aviation expert JP Tristani says his biggest concern is having unauthorized drones flying in an already crowded airspace that serves Newark, LaGuardia, JFK, Teterboro, and Morristown airports.
It's like a symphony in the sky of aircraft. All of them have prescribed paths. You start throwing unidentified objects, such as drones, UFOs, into that pattern, and you have a very critical problem with safety in the air.
Clearly in a formation.
The FBI says they are possibly drones and is asking the public for information and videos of any such activity. Local police say there's no immediate danger to the public, but they don't have an explanation for the flying objects.
Tonight in central New Jersey, a mystery in the sky.
What the heck?
The FBI is now investigating multiple sightings of swarms of drones hovering menacingly overhead night after night for the last several weeks.
This cell phone video taken last week shows drones hovering over a neighborhood in Morristown just above the trees. It's one of countless sightings by residents and law enforcement over the last 2 weeks.
You look up and you'll see them. I mean, they're everywhere.
Ryan Dawson sees the drones around dusk over his neighborhood in Mendham Township. FBI officials say residents describe seeing clusters of drones and a possible fixed-wing aircraft.
My wife and I were driving. We saw one right up above us that was the size of our car. I mean, it's crazy.
They're very fast. They dart around, but no one can figure out, like, why are they here?
Olivia DiMatteo owns Simple Coffee on West Main Street in Mendham. She says the drone mystery has brewed up all sorts of theories.
The rumors have gone from Russian spies to people stalking Trump to aliens, so nobody really knows what's going on, but it's definitely concerning.
Residents in Mendham and nearby towns call the whole thing unsettling.
It's suspicious to me, obviously. It's creepy.
Especially creepy, they say, because the culprit and their motives are unknown.
They're clearly alarming people, and you can understand why, because it's been happening repeatedly. And as some of those people in our story have said, they're just not getting answers from law enforcement.
And they're big, too.
And they're big. Some of them as big as small cars, which, if you've seen drones are normally,
I didn't even know they could be that big.
Yeah. So,
okay, stay on this one.
All right.
It's kind of crazy, really, the fact that they're up there, no one knows where they've come from.
We also reached out to the Morris County Office of Emergency Management, which referred us to the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. The Prosecutor's Office then referred us to the FBI.
From the Hindenburg to War of the Worlds, David, New Jersey has seen its share of aerial intrigue. Tonight, authorities say they understand the public's concern about the drones, but they say there's no immediate danger.
New reports that mysterious drones are swarming a U.S. military base and did so for 17 days in December of last year. Wow. New reports of something that happened in December that breached our national security? The Pentagon says it's stumped with no idea who is behind it.
Now, Pentagon officials recently addressed questions about the drones.
The number of those UAS incursions did fluctuate on any given day. But they didn't appear to exhibit any hostile intent. It's something that we, have kept our eye on.
This isn't the first time suspicious drone activities has been seen.
Here are some of the police reports from Virginia near Langley Air Force Base. December 6th, 10 p.m. Multiple drones have been tracked over Langley Air Force Base, and one was seen descending in the area of Marshall Street or Gosnold's Hope Park. The drone is not a Langley Air Force Base drone. December 7th, 11:07 p.m. Langley is reporting one that's about 25 feet off the ground, possibly landed at Gosnold's Hope. Myself and the other agent will be at 201 Drummond's at the horse pasture in the field.
This one is extremely low. It's loud.
It's really cute.
And it's huge.
It's so big. It looks so much closer in person.
Yeah, my camera doesn't do it. Looks like a spaceship.
The FBI now investigating those mysterious drones flying around New Jersey over the past month. They've been spotted hovering over military facilities, water reservoirs, and even at Trump's Bedminster golf course. But Governor Phil Murphy says there is no known threat to the public.
Yo, look, looks like a triangle. Look! It looks like a f***ing triangle! Go! But here they are. They look like a f***ing triangle. They look like a triangle. No way. And an F-16 just flew over. No way. They look like triangles.
And he joins me now. Chris, how has this been allowed to go on for the better part of a month, especially within that month? Donald Trump won an election. He has a property there at Bedminster, and these drones are apparently flying over that. That seems like a huge violation of everything that the Secret Service says it wants to change. So how is this still allowed to go on?
Yeah, it certainly does. It's perplexing, and I don't understand why. I mean, citizens have been reporting this for quite a while, since November 22nd. So I just hope that the FBI, which is probably the lead agency in this, has actually been working this for quite a while. But that wouldn't explain why the drones just keep on coming.
Oh my God, here we go. Here it is. Are you freaking kidding me right now? What is that?
Very interesting, Ryan. Thank you so much. Well, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy says he met with state and federal Homeland Security officials yesterday, adding in a statement, "We are actively monitoring the situation and in close coordination with our federal and law enforcement partners on this matter. There is no known threat to the public at this time."
And people on Staten Island have also spotted drones flying in their neighborhood. Lori Bordenero spoke to a military veteran who says he knew something was up.
6 or 7 were the most I've seen hovering.
Walter Ziegler first noticed the cluster of unidentified objects in the skies over Staten Island on Monday.
But a power plant, they were hovering over there also.
As a former Air Force sergeant, he says he knew it wasn't a plane or a helicopter.
These things, they had a white light in the center and a red light on each end. And it wasn't winged. It's not a fixed-wing aircraft.
Mysterious clusters of apparent drones have been spotted in central and northern New Jersey over the past 2 weeks, leading to wild speculation.
There's ideas ranging all over the place, government, police, robbers.
Florham Park's police chief sent a message to residents saying drones have been spotted above critical infrastructure, such as water, reservoirs, electric transmission lines, rail stations, police departments, and military installations. He added that their presence appears nefarious in nature. Florham Park's mayor saying,
"People are calling, myself, my home. It's one of those things where they are alarmed."
Local police say there is no threat to public safety, but Walter Ziegler says the drones he saw were in the flight path of Newark Airport.
And when the aircraft approached, the lights went out on the drone. The lights went out. And then when the aircraft passed, the lights came back on. That's dangerous.
But we do ask anyone with information about, who's operating these drones, the identity of the drones. They seem to be, larger than, the hobbyist. And due to the number of them as well would, classify as most likely not a hobbyist that's out doing these.
Chief, we know this has been going on in North Jersey. I'm curious, what was your reaction when you heard reports here in Asia?
There's definitely concern. If we do get reports of drone activity, but they're usually like, ones you purchase, operate. Last night was interesting just because of the wind that was present. One of those small, hobbyist drones wouldn't be able to fly. These larger, professional drone activity that was out there gave greater concern, especially in their ability to navigate the weather.
Any idea who is behind it and what the point of it is? What are they doing?
We don't know.
I'm interested in hearing more about these drones and why they're not doing something to stop it.
I believe I asked you this question months ago when the Chinese spy balloon, like you mentioned, was flying, so I'll ask it again. Is it safe to say that our airspace is, quite frankly, not secure, even though I think the average American always just assumed that the space above them in the air was secure?
I think you're right. It's that assumption that probably causes a lot of people not to report. But I think our airspace is the Wild West.
It definitely wasn't a plane because it was too low.
and it was also going back and forth and then forwards and backwards.
Melissa Kasilniak took this cell phone video Wednesday night from her home in Chatham in Morris County. She says that large object with the flashing red and green lights was hovering just above her neighbor's rooftops.
I think the creepy part is not that it's just a drone, that they're so large.
Saying, quote, witnesses have spotted the cluster of what looked to be drones and a possible fixed-wing aircraft. A witness tells Fox that he and his neighbors are confused and worried about where these drones are coming from. He said he lives about a 10-minute drive from President-elect Donald Trump's Bedminster Golf Club.
They seem to be going in circles, and on my property, I think it's the flight path to Trump Bedminster from the airport. So they seem to be circling around the property.
Neil, take a look at this. You see the drones have been spotted not just near Trump National Golf Club, but also the Picatinny Arsenal military base. And the FAA is banning flights over both locations as the investigation continues.
In Somerset County last week, officials had to cancel an emergency medical helicopter transport because drones were spotted near the chopper's landing area.
Some residents in Chatham and across the Garden State say they're starting to worry.
So for some reason, I think of terrorism, which is very morbid.
Local police say there's no immediate threat to the public, but all eyes here are on the sky.
What you're seeing in this video, which may be a little difficult to make out, is the talk of several towns in South Jersey. Police say multiple sightings of drones were reported in Burlington and Camden counties last night. Now federal authorities have joined the investigation to determine who they belong to. New Jersey reporter Ryan Hughes is in Marlton right now with the very latest. Ryan.
Hey, C Alpha, good afternoon to you. This is the area where police say those drones were first spotted last night. We're near Marlton Parkway and Evans Road, and we're told those drones were flying over neighborhoods like this one, as well as highways. And now investigators are looking into what exactly they were looking at and why.
We've been seeing this drone. It's circling.
That's Troy McNair's voice. He says he recorded this video Thursday night from his home in Clementon after his girlfriend saw lights flashing outside their window.
It flew by, then it came back, and it just hovered. I said, that's definitely a drone.
We had varying reports of anywhere between 4 to 8 drones that were flying through the area.
Evesham Township Police tell CBS News Philadelphia they fielded several calls from concerned residents around 8 p.m. Thursday after seeing the drones hovering and zipping through the air for about 3 hours.
Some were described as large as like an SUV, had blinking lights on them.
That just says to the amount of electronics that could be on board, the amount of recording information they can get.
Evesham Township Police say the mysterious drones were also spotted over Cherry Hill, Medford, and Mount Laurel. The FBI and New Jersey State Police are now investigating who the drones belong to and why they were in the air.
I would like to know that, they're spying on you, because I don't know how much they can see into your house, things like that.
Evesham Township Police say they're also investigating a possible connection to other drone sightings this week in both North and Central Jersey, after investigators there warned of large drones seen flying over critical infrastructure. McNair calls the unusual activity quite concerning.
Just trying to find out if it's anything nefarious, anything suspicious going on.
I'm at Harker's Hollow Golf Club, and in the 30 minutes we've been here, we've seen up to 7 drones in the sky above us. They're above us right now, just moving back and forth. It's really difficult to show you with our camera, so we have to show you with our phones. A handful of flashing lights moving back and forth over northwest New Jersey, hovering over Merrill Creek Reservoir and near Martins Creek Power Plant.
We can see them up here tonight, and we're not getting any answers on what they actually are.
A lack of answers that has officials in Warren, Hunterdon, Morris, and Somerset counties on alert.
It's really concerning. People have called me and they're scared to go outside. And I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
Governor Phil Murphy tweeting he called a meeting over the issue, and his administration is monitoring the situation with no known threat to the public.
You initially just think it's people practicing with drones, and then when you saw the amount and how many there are and coordinated movements, it's really kind of jarring.
We asked the U.S. Army at Picatinny Arsenal about the drones. We were told authorities are aware of the activity and the military is working with local, state, and federal partners to gather more information. In the meantime, the FBI asks people to document the sightings.
As soon as it gets dark, you can be rest assured that you'll start to see drones in the sky.
If there's any more activity, they'll report it. They were out last night. They were reporting sightings throughout the night, and and trying to determine if we could get, numbers off of them or something that would help us identify who these are.
You're probably telling your officers to take video and pictures too, right?
Yeah, we were trying last night, but again, you're not going to get clear images in the dark with something that's dark colored, that's lit up. You're just going to really get pictures of the light, and that's not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any kind of, I guess, not to let the cat out of the bag or anything, but would you scramble anything in terms of your own drone people or choppers or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we will work with the state police and the FBI and guidance with that. We don't have anything like that here. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Chief.
All right. No worries. Thanks for coming in.
So right now, the FBI and local authorities are asking people to send in videos and tips as they see additional drones, which we're expecting here shortly. We're told by local authorities that the busiest time of night is between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. So the drones should be coming out here in about half an hour. We'll send it back to you, Neil.
Yeah, like you say, they can practically time it that way. Thank you very much for that, Nick.
Well, what is that? A pattern of lights over Paterson, New Jersey on Monday night caused a bit of a stir with residents on the ground, all trying to make sense of the unidentified flying objects. Louis Stevens, who was on the ground filming the spectacle, says he lost count of what he called flying white circles that he says morphed into different shapes.
You see it on YouTube and you be like, it's always somewhere out in the Nevada desert somewhere. The shock was more like, is this really real? Like, are we really looking at what we think we're looking at? Headed toward those.
The mysterious lights dazzled the skies over downtown Paterson for more than 5 minutes, Stevens said, ending their run over nearby Garrett Mountain. Pix 11 News sent the video to the Federal Aviation Administration, where an official reviewed it, checking in with local air traffic. We were told nothing unusual was reported, while theories on the ground are now running rampant, especially after a government report released over the summer acknowledged that intelligence officials cannot explain such sophisticated movements in the skies. One likely premise leans more toward drones.
At first, I was kind of puzzled.
Victor Chu, the founder, director, and executive producer of SkyTech One, a drone-based photography company behind numerous award-winning productions, says based on his knowledge, it appears the flying objects were part of a drone lighting show practice session that went wrong.
If you look at a light show, they're all synced together and they're controlled by a computer. And if you looked at the video, you'll see that they're maintaining a formation for the most part, even though it was kind of scrambled a little bit.
Now, whether they were drones or some supernatural phenomenon remains unclear. Officials are urging members of the public who do see this type of activity to report it to the National UFO Reporting Center, or if they feel their life or property are in danger, to call police.
There's been several mysterious sightings in the sky recently, including unidentified objects over U.S. military bases and drones flying over parts of New Jersey. Well, the Pentagon says it has found no evidence of alien spaceships, but lawmakers on Capitol Hill continue their search for answers. More than 700 UFO reports came in last year. A significant number of those lacked enough data to investigate, but there are 21 cases that the Pentagon say they can't explain.
Strange drone sightings are now happening in another part of the area, this time flying over parts of Staten Island. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis requesting that the FAA impose temporary flight restrictions on drones in the area. She's also asking the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to immediately investigate the drone sightings and share their findings with the public. Over the past several days, we reported similar drone sightings over parts of New Jersey. Some have been over critical infrastructure like water reservoirs and electric transmission lines.
The Pentagon shedding some light on potential UFO sightings in a classified briefing to Congress after last month's House and Senate hearings.
And authorities are still investigating mysterious drone activity observed several times in northern New Jersey recently, including near President-elect Trump's Bedminster Golf Club.
More than several times. I've seen two outside my window. Tennessee Congressman and House Oversight Committee member Tim Burchett joins us now. Congressman, Thanks for joining us this morning. This is a little bit personal to me. My entire neighborhood, everybody in the surrounding cities, seems like it's all anybody's talking about because there are so many sightings. We're going to show you the one outside of my house that my kids captured just on Thursday night. But what are your thoughts on this? What's happening, and why don't we have more information? That's over my house. Yeah.
It's one of three things. It's either individuals, it's either the Chinese, or it's our military, or a combination thereof.
Today, Pentagon officials got to sit in on a classified briefing on Capitol Hill with the House Oversight Committee.
The discussion reportedly focusing on unidentified flying objects flying over military sites and President Trump's golf course. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
For the past few weeks, residents of New Jersey spotting mysterious objects flying at night.
This is over my house right now. What is that?
Some close to a military installation. Others over President Trump's Bedminster Golf Club, raising alarm. The FAA restricting airspace. The FBI now investigating.
Oh my God, here we go. What is that?
Officials admitting they can't say for sure what the flying objects are, some saying they're the size of a small automobile. In a statement, a New Jersey police chief saying their presence appears nefarious in nature. The concerns reportedly being discussed behind closed doors on Capitol Hill Friday in a classified briefing between Pentagon officials and House Oversight Committee members.
Is the truth?
A few weeks ago, lawmakers held a public hearing aimed at advancing transparency around unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs for short.
Why the secrecy if it's really no big deal and there's nothing there? Why hide it from the American people?
Now, the American people have legitimate questions, and I believe it's critical that Congress should help address them. This is about the truth and science and facts.
Following the hearing, the Pentagon saying this.
To date, the department has discovered no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial beings, activity, or technology.
We could be getting more information on what the government does and doesn't know regarding UAPs and UFOs relatively soon. Donald Trump says he supports transparency on the subject and even promised to release classified footage of the phenomena while on the campaign trail.
And David and Natalie, we are here in Morris County, just a couple miles away from the Picatinny Arsenal. That is a military manufacturing and research facility. And look, people who live in this area are accustomed to equipment testing here, but residents tell us what they have been seeing in the skies this week is like nothing they have ever seen before. On Tuesday night at around 8 p.m., Phil Doyle and his wife Maureen went out on their back patio when they heard buzzing overhead. He says they saw dozens of flying objects believed to be drones, which have now been reported in 8 northern and central New Jersey counties starting the week before Thanksgiving. This video was taken in their backyard. Now that is less than 5 miles from the Picatinny Arsenal, a U.S. Army base. The Doyles, who live in Oak Ridge, say they saw dozens of these objects believed to be drones coming from the direction of Picatinny and heading northwest.
One goes over and another comes by, so it's not like 2 or 3 a night. It's probably 30 or 50 a night.
30 to 50 drones flying overhead.
Yeah, and they have lights on them so you can follow them in the sky.
What do you think of the government response so far?
Yeah, it's typical of the government. You know, they may know, they may not know. So, but a lot of them seem to come from the Picatinny Arsenal area, which is, like you said, just the other side of the hill, and who knows what they're doing.
Oh, we checked in with some of those government agencies. Governor Murphy's office said nothing new since yesterday when he said he was in touch with Homeland Security. And the FBI also told us nothing new to report, but they are asking people to send them tips and video. Now, as you mentioned at the top of the story, these drones have also been spotted over Staten Island. Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis saying today that she's asking the FAA to impose a temporary drone flight restriction in the area. Some of her concern there that these drones are flying over the Howland Hook Terminal. That's a container port facility here in New Jersey, obviously flying near Picatinny and also over some reservoirs and rail stations. That leading the Florham Park mayor yesterday to call the presence of these drones nefarious or unlawful.
Drone sightings like this one that started in North Jersey have now spread to South Jersey.
Last night around 8 o'clock, we got reports of residents seeing drone activity in the area.
The latest over Evesham, and those were big too, the police here saw.
Police went out, were able to observe some of them. We looked like there was reports of between 4 to 8 drones. They weren't like the typical types of drones you would think of, like a hobbyist that goes up and takes pictures of whatever. These more look like unmanned aircraft. There's some were as large as like an SUV flying around in the area.
Social media fueled fear has followed many of the drone sightings, and so has legitimate concern from government leaders. Governor Murphy posted that he convened a meeting on the drone activity with senior officials with Homeland Security, State Police, and the state's congressional delegation, and said there is no threat to the public at this time.
We monitored the area just to see, what they were doing, just to make sure there was no threat, seeing if they were looking at critical infrastructure. And then we monitored them until they continued through town, which they were out of here about 11:15, and then they headed towards Cherry Hill and ultimately towards Philadelphia.
Did it concern you this could be nefarious activity?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the advanced technology that they seem to have. They're not like most drones. They're within sight. These are obviously being controlled somewhere else, and there's obviously a purpose they're up flying.
Could you find out who was controlling them and where they were?
We're working on that. So we're working with the state police through the Regional Operations Center and ultimately with the federal authorities, FAA, FBI.
I checked like a flight tracker app and there's no planes in the area. You see these things go by and they're big.
If something that, massive came down into a populated area, it would be problematic. But it didn't. I mean, it was very windy last night. The size of these and the technology with them, they didn't seem to be affected by the wind. They were varying altitudes. They said sometimes as low as 100 feet, other times as high as 2,000 feet.
That doesn't make me feel safe that I have to wait till Donald Trump is in office to find out what's flying over, like literally outside my window. We're not even talking like way over my house.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you've got local laws and regulations, and I would suggest you petition your local folks. But FAA is supposed to control the airspace, and they're failing at their job.
Here's what just so you know, everybody in my neighborhood is calling the police station and the sheriff, and then the sheriff says call the FBI, and nobody gets any answers. Here's what the FAA said. They said safely integrating drones into the national airspace system is a key priority for the FAA. We look into all reports of unauthorized drone operations and investigate when appropriate. What? Like, that doesn't tell me anything.
I've raised the issue, as has my colleagues, Maliotakis and others in New Jersey and New York, about these drone sightings. So last night, I was on the beach in Island State Park in Ocean County with the sheriff. He has been working it every single night. He's got his own tethered drones chronicling. One of his officers 2 nights ago saw 50 drones come in off the ocean right there. So we thought maybe they'll replicate it. They didn't, but we thought it was a possibility. Last night, we had a number of other people there, including a commanding officer from the Coast Guard, who said that one of their 47-foot motor lifeboats was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones as they went through the water, followed right behind them. And I said, what's the rules of engagement? I mean, you do it if you're fighting against a narco trafficker or something. And they said, we don't know. We don't have any.
Last night, a constituent saw one of these drones hovering over the Verrazano Bridge, which connects Staten Island and Brooklyn. And on one side of that, you have the Coast Guard base at Fort Wadsworth. And on the other side of that, we have an Army base in Fort Hamilton in Brooklyn. And so it is very concerning that they're choosing to fly these things over, as Phil Murphy said, sensitive infrastructure or military installations. And we deserve and demand answers. And we would expect our government agencies to have those answers for elected officials.
So I did reach out to the commanding officer at the Joint Base, which is also in my district, and talked to him, had a very good conversation, Colonel Anthony Smith, Joint Base Fort Dix McGuire, the 87th Air Wing, Air Base Wing today. And I said, I know you have the capability, you've put out press releases, to identify and bring down drones. Why can't you deploy them at least to the ocean? Bring one of these down, find out who's doing it. They have the capability. They said we don't have the authority, only within the parameters of our base. Well, there's a national interest here. Our jets fly over the ocean all the time for training, so that perimeter is larger. So I did write Secretary Lloyd Austin asking that capability that may be sitting in a closet somewhere. I know they use it all the time, but bring it out. And I'm not saying you got to share it with the sheriffs. It'd be nice. Just do it yourself in the interest of the American public. So I would ask if you would echo that request. I mean, DOD's got the capability, and maybe Homeland Security does as well. When we had a Zoom meeting with Secretary Mayorkas, our governor put it together, and I appreciated that. But I asked them, why can't we just track where they go to?
Well, over the past few weeks, hundreds of eyewitnesses have now reported seeing large-size UFOs or drones, you can call them whatever you like, hovering for hours, not minutes, over parts of the United States, from Arizona to New Jersey to North Carolina, all across the United States. Many reports that these are hovering over military installations as well. And now we know that the FBI is actively investigating these UFOs. In fact, we just got word that these UFOs are now hovering over federal agents' homes. Listen.
Well, Will, one of the ships was in fact inspected by the Coast Guard, and they couldn't find anything. The thing is that there were several other suspicious ships in the region that they never got to. And Will, it gets worse. Just a couple of months earlier, there were several mystery drone flights over our nuclear testing range in Nevada, just north of Las Vegas. And again, nothing was done. And it gets even worse. Some of the FBI agents that have been assigned to look into this have reported drones flying over their homes as if to say, hey, we know where you are.
What is going on in New Jersey?
So, sir, the FBI and our Newark field office, along with the state and local partners there, the Bureau is actively investigating the situation you mentioned, just the unexplained sighting of drone activity over that part of New Jersey, including proximity to sensitive sites and areas of concern. So we do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there. That 1-800-CALL-FBI, tips.fbi for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
Is the public at risk? Is public safety at risk? Are we concerned that there are nefarious intentions that could cause either national security or a public safety incident that would put Americans at risk?
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
Mayor, thank you first of all for your time. You've seen these drones. Before we talk about the theories on the source of them, kind of just describe what you've experienced.
Been hearing about them, but last Tuesday night, a resident in town, one of my neighbors on my block, said that there were 8 overhead over our elementary school and municipal complex, which are, on the same block. So I got in my car and I rode around here. And by the time I got around here, which is only about a half-mile ride, the drones had all moved east over the town of Dover, New Jersey, kind of in between us. There's a large county park, and they were everywhere. I have a video of it was 4 with a kind of a stationary drone. What it appeared to us was there was one drone that was just stationary, and 4 were going back and forth in a scanning pattern. I'm a little older, so I would look like Pong from back in the day, right? Back, forth, and they went over the town of Dover. I went down into Dover to see a better look, get some more pictures, and they moved east again. And that was my own personal observation. I have residents reporting, last night some residents reported that there were, over various times of the evening, they were watching, and there were 12 over our lake. And they can't get pictures because they come out really grainy, and they're still like little dots on cell phones. I'm hoping some folks with some really good equipment can get out there. I know there's a fellow in town who has infrared night equipment who's going out tonight looking. He's going to try to see if he can get. But it's very disconcerting.
What do you think is going on, Mayor? What do you think this is?
Well, to be intentionally a little inflammatory, the state of New Jersey has been invaded by drones. The question and the problem and the nervousness is by who? Because they are everywhere. There are hundreds of these things. I have friends up and down the state. They're reporting down at the Jersey Shore, in southern counties, Cape May, all the way up into Sussex County. The length of the state, they're reporting that there are drones everywhere. Theories range from that it's a military exercise because President Trump flies in and out of New Jersey and has property here, to they're organized clubs who are just putting them up in the air. But the activity of the drones, the methodical scanning back and forth, it gives a lot of people pause because they're not really sure what that's about. There are people who say they're geo tracking or something. I forget what the word is. Scanning, almost like a Google Earth, but a night thing, but it's all crazy speculation in the fact that no one's provided answers.
There is a growing mystery that's now extended across the country. Swarms of drones, some the size of small cars, have been flying at night over parts of New Jersey and New York. And yesterday, a sighting in California over a high-ranking military meeting.
What's going on in America? Why doesn't our government tell us what's going on in these skies? Is this the military doing active military things? Then let us know.
They're 2 feet bigger than our drones, or 2 times the size rather, so they're about 4 feet, and it looks like it's a fixed wing type craft. What concerns us mostly is that at this point nobody's seen any of these units taking off or landing.
This is a significant threat to U.S. national security.
Drones flying at night in formation. One report says when an official aircraft approached one set one night, the lights on the drones went dark. And last night, 49 additional sightings were reported, including 20 in Hunterdon County.
It is concerning when you've got these literal UFOs flying every single night. And Marky, they're huge. These are not like your
look at this video.
6 feet across in some cases.
This is crazy.
The mood is more concerned now than before. But what I've said is that if this is something nefarious, then we should be even more concerned that the FBI, Homeland Security don't know what it is.
That is not an airplane.
It's the latest in a string of mysterious drone sightings posted on social media that has residents worried. And this morning, the FBI is investigating.
They're just pacing back and forth, going very slow.
It would be very difficult for a small business or even a medium-sized business to have the ability to pilot a large group of these and be this systematic over a long period of time.
And today, a large drone seen here, also described as the size of a small vehicle, flying over a California event where Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was in attendance.
Diane Atkins says she first heard a roaring noise and then looked out her window in Bay Ridge to see these lights, several in the sky near the Verrazano Bridge. She believes they are all drones.
They started to change from like white lights. They started to get like more like reddish green blinking lights. There had to be in total 10, maybe 12 of these things, and some of them came closer. They went over my building. You could hear the whir of the motor. They seemed pretty large.
Any chance they could be planes?
Absolutely not. Definitely not planes. And there were too many of them. There's no way planes could fly that close together.
Still, no one seems to know exactly what is going on.
It's highly unusual, Walter.
Maureen Rush is a 45-year law enforcement veteran and president of the Philadelphia Police Foundation. She says it's important to note that many of the sightings include commercial-grade drones, some as large as small airplanes, not the kinds used by hobbyists. Her other concern
is there are multiple drone sightings, and they're almost in a flock. You know, if they were geese, they would be in a flock. And that's what's really unnerving for people.
And the sightings seem to be spreading.
This is the third time that it's come around.
With large drones reportedly in the sky around Philadelphia.
Look at it.
The mysterious flying objects preventing a medical helicopter from landing to pick up a car crash victim.
Jonathan Lace, a pilot himself, shot this shocking video overnight of multiple car-sized drones near the Essex County, New Jersey airport. So concerned by what he saw, he contacted the FAA.
What's been probably the most alarming thing to you?
As a pilot, I can tell you that, when you're about to land, the last thing you want to see is something hovering in front of you.
It's difficult to kind of wrap your head around. They're no threat, but we don't know what they're there for or who's piloting.
The buzz about these aircraft started last week and spilled into the weekend.
That's huge.
Doug McLaughlin shared these videos of the unusual activity seen from his Marlton backyard.
Saturday night, we were sitting outside by the fire, and there they appeared.
Is there ever a question in your mind if these are actually just planes?
No, the flight path above our house has been the same probably for years. So they're not following the regular flight path for the planes going to the airport.
These are apparently as I understand it, very sophisticated. The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. And, we're obviously most concerned about sensitive targets and sensitive critical infrastructure. So we've got military assets, we've got utility assets, we've got the president-elect's one of his homes here.
Sightings also now being reported in New York City. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella calling on the FAA and FBI to expand their investigation.
People have seen a number of 15-foot or so wingspan drones hovering around. In this day and age, I just don't think that that's something you take lightly. If it is nothing to be concerned about, someone should come forward and say that.
Residents alarmed by the number of sightings.
One would go over, and then the next one would come, and then the next one, and the next one. So it wasn't like there would be 20 coming at one time.
Look what's back again. Same spot as last night.
Meanwhile, more sightings of the large drones continue to proliferate social media. New Jersey resident Michael Marciano capturing these images on Saturday.
Coming right above my house.
The FBI not commenting on the drone activity to NBC News, but setting up a tip line for people to report any sightings.
It's moving really fast now.
Growing concern as the mystery in the sky continues.
Trump National Golf Club isn't far from the Picatinny Arsenal military base in northern New Jersey. Now, some thought the military base may be behind the drones, but the base tells Fox News, quote, "While the source and cause of these aircraft operating in our area remain unknown, we can confirm that they are not the result of any Picatinny Arsenal-related activities."
It looks like a spaceship. From near Bedminster, the location of President Trump's golf course, to Monmouth County, where the sheriff's office has made this map of reported sightings.
Characteristic triangle lights underneath.
To Morris County, where 21 mayors signed a letter voicing their concerns to New Jersey's Governor Murphy.
We don't see any concern for public safety. Having said that, it's really frustrating that we don't have more answers as to where they're coming from.
Well, even more large drone sightings reported over parts of New Jersey this weekend, including near President-elect Trump's golf course in Bedminster. There you see one of the drones caught the other night.
I do not believe it's the U.S. military, and if it is, and if they're doing exercises, shame on them for the disorganized way they are doing it. I don't believe it is them. I am hopeful it is not a foreign adversary, yet I do worry about that.
Where people are talking about this as far reported as Connecticut, all the way down here to the Philadelphia area, these drone sightings. And we are not talking about small toy-like drones that people would use for hobbies, but commercial gray drones, reportedly some the size of a small school bus or a small airplane. And neighbors are reportedly seeing these drones flying at night or in the early morning hours in flocks and at low altitudes. Neighbors reported being woken up by a buzzing sound, and officials don't have any answers.
Murphy said yesterday in Princeton that he's been on the phone with top officials in the Biden administration and DHS trying to get answers. He says he needs more from them.
An FAA spokesperson tells CBS News Philadelphia the drone activity was first reported in North Jersey back on November 18th. Evesham police shared they're investigating the questionable aircrafts, adding several were spotted over Medford, Mount Laurel, and Cherry Hill.
So roughly a dozen counties in New Jersey have now had reports of drone sightings, but this mystery first began in Morris County, New Jersey, back in mid-November, and it sparked concern because of the area's proximity to President-elect Donald Trump's National Golf Club in Bedminster and Picatinny Arsenal, a military manufacturing facility. But as of this weekend, the sightings have spread.
It's on all the township news pages on Facebook and everything. People are taking pictures.
I'm going to keep my eyes to the sky. I'm watching anyway. I do that anyway, especially at nighttime.
After speaking with local officials and federal officials, we can tell you we have no idea what's going on.
So 60 seconds left. I know the governor says, there's nothing for the public to be concerned about right now. How can he say that when you don't have a lot of information? Right. And also, do you think they know more than they're letting on, Bill?
100%. I'm not so sure our governor knows more because I don't know if the federal government trusts him with information that they don't want to get out there. But that said, absolutely, the FBI, Homeland Security, the military, they must know more because these things are flying on and around military bases. There would be no way to get into those restricted zones without being shot down by the government or stopped at some level. So they definitely know more. I think they owe it to the American people to let us know what is going on.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
The other night, there was, right here over Picatinny, there was a drone just hanging out. I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. Warning on my screen, lost control, and my drone started going down, dead battery.
So aware of those drone sightings that have been reported, at this time we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary.
One of our police officers, again working for Sheriff Mastronardi, chronicled 50 coming from the ocean onto land. 50.
This is
this is really serious stuff.
It's insane. It's like a sci-fi movie, and it could be a hoax, but it's so large, the number of them.
There's probably a ship that
it's a foreign entity. It's something that the U.S. knows and understands, or it's some kind of massive hoax with lots of people involved.
Talking to some local law enforcement agencies, neighboring communities, they do have video. They have tracked these things going out to the water, so that's quite interesting. We know for a fact they can't fly from Europe or from Asia all the way over here, so they must be landing somewhere.
The best information that we have available to us to this point suggests that these drones are coming from offshore, that when we try to make contact with them, they become evasive and elusive. From my perspective, if they are American assets, if they're American military, if they're American drones, and I think we owe the American people answers or explanations, but if they're not American made, if they're not American drones, then I think we owe the American people action. And if no one else is saying, I'll be the first one to say it. If these are not American assets, then we need to get our assets into the air and blow one of these things out of the sky, pick up the pieces and figure out what we're dealing with, because quite frankly, we're the United States of America. I think we need to do a better job here.
Down near Monmouth County, the Monmouth County Sheriff also urging federal and state officials to take prompt action addressing these sightings. Jeff Frost from Matawan says he finds himself looking out of his window every night with a bit of fear.
It's so weird. It's such an eerie feeling. I can't really describe it. As each passing day goes by and there's less, more conversation about it, but less explicit, what this is, it becomes a little creepier.
Could be aliens.
This lack of answers is absolutely
Martha, there's
really
no way
upsetting.
it's a hoax. We have foreign powers, especially China, Putin, Russia, and
we
Middle
already,
East.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
So I was there on the beach and I talked to several people, including a commander for the Coast Guard, who told me that the night before, I was there last night, so 2 nights ago. One of their 47-foot vessels, boats, was trailed very closely by more than a dozen of these drones. Now that, to me, is very, very not just suspicious, provocative, and this could be a foreign power, whether it be Putin, or whether it be Xi Jinping in China, or the Middle East. We can't rule any of that out.
Yeah, this is incredible.
Incredible.
A United States Coast Guard boat testified to you that 12 drones were following it in the water in the Atlantic Ocean.
I can see 3 drones.
From down at the shore all the way to the Army facility in Morris County.
They just hover. A little bit over there, a little bit over there, a little bit, but they just hover back and forth.
Wharton, New Jersey resident and Terror Talk podcast host Michael B. has spent the past 2 weeks attempting to see what these peculiar-looking light-up moving dots are in the sky with a drone of his own. But so far, he hasn't had any luck.
By the way, this threat's just going to get worse and worse as these drones become more and more capable as AI is implemented and put into them.
They're just pacing back and forth, going very slow.
You're joining me by squinting at your screen right now, and you're seeing what I'm seeing. Sort of a twinkling light in the sky. Well, these are just a few of the dozens of mysterious drones spotted circling above New Jersey.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct? That's right. It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
Well, the Picatinny Arsenal released a statement today saying that those drones definitely did not come from them. The thing that's odd about this is you have leaders like Governor Murphy and Congressman Gottheimer saying they don't believe they're a threat to the public, yet the public is being told to call the FBI if you know anything about them or if you've seen them.
And he said, "What is going on?" I said, "I'm going to ask Brett in the morning." So here, Brett, tell my dad, what do you think is going on?
Oh my God, it's difficult to say. It's all speculation at this point. Even the U.S. military research facility at Picatinny Arsenal just admitted that the drones are not theirs. So that's added to the confusion even more. And I've said it before, I've tested a ton of drones over U.S. government installations in partnership with the military before. And that type of secrecy is just not normal for how we would conduct business. Even if we don't explain to the locals what exactly we're doing and testing drones and why, there would still be a lot of coordination of those flights at all levels of law enforcement. And if anything got out of hand, for example, public hysteria like this operation, we would shut it down immediately. But it's not stopping, and now we're even hearing more reports of drones flying over Philly now.
We have an update tonight on those mysterious drones seen flying across the region over the past few days. A New Jersey state senator is now calling for a limited state of emergency and says he wants to ban all drones from flying in the Garden State until the public receives an explanation about what's happening.
His name is John, and they're telling him what they're seeing, and John, in fact, has seen these drones himself as well. So, John, what are people saying here?
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting. I know in my own personal experience, I was driving home from a friend's house, passing by Flanders Valley Golf Course, and I saw a drone that looked like the size of a small car, just hovering right above the golf course. And I tried to get a picture of it, but you know how it is, the lights, it's kind of hard to get a true image out of it.
We do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that, of one or more people that are responsible for those drone flights. But we're actively investigating. What the Bureau has done to aid our state and local partners is what we generally do, enlist the help of the interagency, enlist the help of the public. There's a tip line there, that 1-800-CALL-FBI, tips.fbi, for information from the public that could help us resolve this. It is concerning.
This is chilling. We'll give you more details.
New Jersey State Senator John Bromnick is calling for a limited state of emergency over the mysterious drones. President Biden was also briefed earlier today. Look at it. Meanwhile, more and more sightings of the drones continue to take over social media and the Action News inbox.
It is a little creepy. It's a little weird to think about. I heard about it all day in the barbershop that I work at.
I'm more concerned about the lack of transparency on behalf of our federal government and their inability to even want to alleviate the public's concerns at all. All they're saying is it's being investigated. That's unacceptable. And these local government officials, they need to stop saying there is no known threat unless they really know that.
Officials aren't going that far, but are asking the public to be aware and keep reporting what they see until someone figures out what's flying in the skies over New Jersey.
And you have 12 of them out there. I think, it's a very reasonable question. Why weren't one of those drones trailing the Coast Guard ship shot down over the ocean?
I mean, this could be the beginning of something, or it could be nothing. Who knows?
Really quickly, what do you make of drones the size of dining room tables and nobody has a clue what they are?
Yeah, you can't tell me that we don't know what that is. I just think they're not being honest with us.
Let's hope we can get it right this time. It's already very late in that process. Unbelievable. I had one.
A Chinese national living in Brentwood was arrested at San Francisco International Airport, accused of flying a drone over Vandenberg Space Force Base. The 39-year-old man, identified as Yin Piao Zhou, was apprehended before boarding a flight to China. Base security detected the drone on November 30th, flying at high altitude for nearly an hour. Investigators found aerial photographs of the base on the drone. If convicted, Joe faces up to 4 years in prison.
The interesting question in my mind is who is operating these things. I was recently in the United Kingdom where there are similar drone sightings over US military bases. And the concern has to be that these things could be a national security challenge.
The case of the mystery drones over New Jersey is still a big mystery. State and federal officials say they are no closer to finding out who is behind these drones. Nick Calloway covers New Jersey, and he reports some are asking for the military to help out.
It's huge. If you're wondering who's behind these mysterious drones hovering over homes, reservoirs, even a military base, you are not alone. New Jersey State Police and the state's Office of Homeland Security briefed mayors and local elected officials Wednesday, but
they don't have any information.
I'm worried about the fact that they didn't know. I mean, I can accept they don't tell us, but they didn't know?
Well, they knew, but they didn't know who was behind it. This was an incredible, well-reported scoop, Harris, from our colleagues at the Wall Street Journal and confirmed to us by Pentagon officials early this morning. In December 2023, U.S. Air Force commanders at Langley Air Force Base in Southern Virginia, home to the F-22 Raptors, noticed over a period of 17 days, dozens of unidentified drones would begin flying over the base shortly after dusk each night. The Air Force, by federal law, was not allowed to shoot these mystery drones out of the sky. The White House reportedly called for national security meetings to discuss how to address drones possibly sent by a foreign adversary. Adding to the mystery, on January 5th, a Chinese international student, Fengyang Shi, studying at University of Minnesota, was found trying to fish a drone out of a tree in Newport News, Virginia. Images taken by the drone showed aerial photos of the Huntington Ingalls facility, which builds nuclear submarines for the military and Ford-class aircraft carriers. He was then arrested 13 days later in San Francisco with a one-way ticket back to China. He was given a 6-month sentence. The drone mystery remains unsolved, Harris, but it certainly has the attention of Pentagon brass.
Montgomery's Nina Singh among the hundreds of mayors Wednesday invited to state police headquarters in Ewing for a briefing on the mysterious drones buzzing over the skies of New Jersey.
So I came today hoping that there was going to be some answers. What I got out of the meeting was, don't worry, but we don't know what it is. That is not reassuring.
Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones.
As the briefing was being held, New Jersey Congressman Jeff Van Drew, a member of the House Judiciary Committee, was on TV claiming Iran launched a ship containing the drones roughly a month ago. The mayors we spoke with say that wasn't addressed today.
While we're in there, we are told that via social media that Congressman Van Drew is on TV explaining that he has received word that there is an entity off of the coast of New Jersey that is allowing these drones to fly in and out. Over 180 drones have now been spotted in the state of New Jersey, according to the briefing that we just received.
My reaction was why? Why would they do that?
Former New York Homeland Security Advisor Michael Balboni doesn't think Iran is behind the drones.
On this occasion, particularly when you have these drones operating over key US military sites. And I think that has to be the real concern, is when you have drones operating over key bases in the US, but also around the world.
Head to New Jersey, where there are even more questions about those mysterious drone sightings. Mayors say a briefing today failed to provide answers, and now one New Jersey congressman claims Iran is involved.
But the mayor of Mine Hill says he did learn today the drones don't have an identifying radio beacon, which they're supposed to. He wants the federal government to keep drones from flying at night, at least for the time being.
The fact that they have radio beacons turned off, to me, says it's nefarious, and we have to get to the bottom of it.
Again tonight, the Pentagon disputing those reports that foreign entities may be behind these drones that have been popping up now since mid-November. So it remains a mystery at this hour where they're coming from and why they are over our state. There is another briefing we've learned tomorrow at State Police Headquarters, this time with police chiefs. We should also mention tonight the governor, we're told from mayors, not on hand for today's meeting.
Head live to the Pentagon because they are briefing on this right now.
Coming from a foreign entity or adversary?
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
It's looping around the area.
For weeks, the sightings have been piling up from North Jersey to South Jersey.
That's not a plane.
With no clear answers and no one claiming responsibility, concern is growing.
I think when you have unmanned drones that are hovering, that are obviously not the ones that people are getting with 2-day shipping with Amazon, that is a concern to me.
We do not know the particular specifics of what those drones are.
The meeting with the mayors comes only a day after the FBI was grilled by lawmakers in Washington.
We were hoping for a few epiphanies today, and we really didn't get any.
Well, a New Jersey senator is calling for a limited state of emergency after numerous sightings of mysterious drones over the state. The FBI has been investigating the reports, which they have been receiving for over a month. Authorities in New Jersey insist sightings of SUV-sized drones don't pose a threat to public safety. But military analysts say the lack of clear answers from the government points to a larger problem.
Senator John Bramnick says state leaders are baffled by the drones, which have been reported up and down the Garden State.
Apparently, it's only the Department of Defense that has the sophisticated technology that could find out where these drones are from and where they're going. And that's what I said to the state police today. Bring in the Department of Defense.
The FBI is leading the drone investigation. They appear to be equally as perplexed.
What is going on in New Jersey?
A top FBI official testified before Congress on Tuesday.
We do not attribute that to an individual or a group yet. We're investigating, but I don't have an answer of who's responsible for that.
FBI Assistant Director of Critical Incident Response, Robert Wheeler, was asked if the public is at risk.
There's nothing that is known that would lead me to say that, but we just don't know, and that's the concerning part.
They don't know if there is a threat or not, and there was one incident where apparently a state police helicopter had a large drone underneath it while it was flying, and then that drone turned off its lights and took off.
Pentagon officials say the drones do not belong to the U.S. military, and they do not appear to be coming from a foreign adversary. In Scotch Plains, New Jersey, Nick Calloway, CBS News, New York.
Well, that's good to note. And late this afternoon, Monmouth County Sheriff Sean Golden calling on Governor Murphy to declare a state of emergency and issue an executive order banning recreational drone use during nighttime hours.
Well, this is an interesting story. People in Northfield keep seeing mysterious lights in the nighttime sky. The sightings come as people on the East Coast report seeing large drones that they can't explain.
And the East Coast sightings now have the FBI's attention, with the White House even chiming in.
So this past weekend, several commercial pilots reported mysterious lights zipping through the skies above Oregon, prompting questions about UFOs. At least 4 commercial pilots reported the lights in the sky. On Sunday night, a United Airlines pilot radioed radioed air traffic control after spotting them in the Eugene area. A life flight pilot reported one of the lights was going in circles in a corkscrew-like pattern and showed up on his aircraft's collision avoidance system.
Red in color, moving at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast he's moving.
You are cleared to maneuver as necessary, left to right, to avoid the UFO out there.
It's weird. It's a red circular shape, and it keeps zipping out towards the ocean and then coming back in about, 20 miles or closer to us, and then it zips back out of the ocean and we can't see it.
The night before, one of our police officers, again working for Sheriff Mastronardi, chronicled 50 coming from the ocean onto land. 50.
This is
I mean, this is really serious stuff.
It's insane. It's like a sci-fi movie. See it?
Whoa! Daddy, we see them! What in the world are those? There's another one right there!
I know. I don't understand what those are.
Yeah, the lights on those drones continues to just baffle my mind. If we're being, nefarious, why would you have lights? Or are you trying to spy? You have red and green lights that are.
All right, by the way, imagine you're a U.S. general on the roof of your base and you're watching drones. You don't know what they are, where they're from, just flying over, and it's going on night after night. That is what happened to our military. This is a story that's gone all the way to the White House. I'm not talking about people flying drones around airports or paparazzi looking into backyards. I'm talking about multiple major breaches of some of the most restricted U.S. airspace, including our most sensitive military and national security sites. All of this is according to the Wall Street Journal, or most of it anyway, which interviewed multiple U.S. generals and many other government officials. Here's what we know so far. In October of last year, 5 drones flew over a little-known government site in Nevada used for nuclear weapons experiments. Then in recent months, more unidentified drone swarms, as they've been described, flew near Edwards Air Force Base near Los Angeles. And here's the doozy of them all. Last December, the biggest incursion we know, a dozen or more drones every night for 17 nights straight, circling the area of Langley Air Force Base along the Virginia shore.
Langley Air Force Base did experience incursions of unauthorized unmanned aerial systems last year in December 2023. The number of those UAS incursions did fluctuate on any given day.
She also confirmed that Langley's commanding officer had authority to shoot down the drones, but she did not explain why that did not happen.
Gordon, this is one of the most interesting stories I've seen reported in recent years. And part of what makes it interesting is you have these on-the-record interviews with U.S. generals. They're talking to you for a reason. And then you also have these unnamed officials that talk to you. And my understanding, tell me if I'm wrong here, the military does not think this is just a bunch of hobbyists.
People in New Jersey are concerned and demanding information after a wave of mysterious drone sightings. But the government has yet to give any concrete answers.
The sightings began in New Jersey last month. About the same time, drones were spotted around 4 U.S. air bases in the United Kingdom. Now they're being reported here in New York and Pennsylvania as well.
What do you think's going on here?
It is really bizarre, and basically what she said over there, the press secretary, is I'm ruling out that there's any active foreign adversaries behind this, and I'm also ruling out that it's U.S. military. So then what's left?
The other night, there was, right here over Picatinny, there was a drone just hanging out. I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. Warning on my screen, lost control, and my drone started going down, dead battery.
One family claims they followed a drone in their car, and while it hovered above them, the clock in their car changed times. Then they say the clock went back to normal after they drove off.
Fox 9's Mike Manzoni spoke with eyewitnesses in Northfield tonight, and Mike, they're not sure what they're looking at.
Yeah, but they say what they're seeing is similar, maybe not the same, but similar to what people are seeing in New York, in New Jersey. Here's one video here where you can kind of see 1 or 2 orbs kind of hovering, floating around. At times they move, eventually disappear. What are they? No one knows.
We started trying to follow them, but
they won't be followed. They're kind of like they disappear.
Deborah Wagner doesn't know what she keeps seeing over her Northfield home.
And then these things, whenever anybody would kind of come towards them, they'd back off.
But her daughter, Chrissy Grady, sees them too.
Are these UFOs? Are they a government thing? Like, what are they?
It's really low.
I know it is.
You gotta follow it. There's another one up there.
Oh, crap.
Chrissy and her kids took this video when they saw flashing lights that moved away after they spotted them.
Well, it obviously sees me. I gotta pretend like I'm actually driving. Watched both of them. So now there's 4.
They started seeing the lights over the summer, and now it's a nightly thing.
They would come and kind of like hover, and then we would go outside, and then they would leave.
About 1,000 miles away in New York and New Jersey, this is what people are seeing in the skies. Eyewitnesses say they look like SUV-sized drones, and those sightings now have even the White House's attention.
Obviously, this is something that DHS and FBI are tracking very, very closely.
Well, I don't want it to come closer.
As for what Chrissy and her mother Deborah keep seeing here in Minnesota, well, they don't know.
Right now, just the unknown is driving us crazy and making us mad.
But they do know what you're probably thinking.
I was like, oh man, everybody's gonna think, oh, go have another glass of wine, Mom.
And Chrissy says she did reach out to the sheriff's office, but they didn't have any answers for her.
At least 4 commercial pilots reported mysterious bright lights zipping through the skies above Oregon this past weekend. On Sunday night, a United Airlines pilot radioed air traffic control after spotting the unexpected lights in the Eugene area.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, they're all altitudes up and down. It's pretty crazy.
A Life Flight pilot reported one of the lights was going in circles in a corkscrew pattern and showed up on his aircraft's collision avoidance system. Several brief videos taken by pilots and their crews showed lights in the night sky, but they're difficult to see because of the dark conditions.
It's weird. It's a red circular shape, and it keeps zipping out towards the ocean and then coming back in about, 20 miles or closer to us, and then zips back out of the ocean and we can't see it.
2 Horizon airline pilots also reported seeing mysterious lights, according to air traffic control, who confirmed there was no military activity in the area.
The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, acknowledged that a pilot saw unidentified lights, but did not provide any further comment.
New Jersey lawmakers ripping the Department of Homeland Security, leaving a briefing with no answers on the source of the mysterious drone lighting up the state's skies. This as the Pentagon is denying claims they were sent by foreign enemies.
But whatever they're doing, they don't care what the rules are. 11 drones, it's been admitted now, 11 drones have gone over Picatinny Arsenal, which is about 5 miles from here in a direct line. Those drones should have been blown out of the sky. Why are we putting up with this? Why are we putting up with this?
You're not talking about like the TFR temporary flight restriction rules. You're talking about literally just blasting them out of the sky.
They have Picatinny Arsenal is a weapons development center. Okay, it's a high-tech place. It's in a rural area, it's beautiful, but it's a high-tech place. If you're the bad guys, you want to know what's going on at Picatinny. They went into Picatinny's airspace. That's a violation of the law. It has to be. I don't have the chapter and verse of the U.S. Code, but if I did that and they came back and tracked that I put a drone over, or an average person, somebody put a drone over, we'd be in big federal trouble. I don't know why they even put up with letting them go over like that. And then my understanding, Langley and then several other bases in New Jersey, they're doing that. According to the Wall Street Journal, Langley experienced a series of drone incursions into restricted airspace for 17 nights in a row last December.
They didn't appear to exhibit any hostile intent. It's something that we, have kept our eye on.
Mysterious drones as large as a car, what at first seemed a local anomaly, now capturing the attention of top military officials.
At this time, we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but, at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
The authorities are saying there is no known or credible threat, but at the same time, they also say, and you were telling me during the commercial, they revealed it's not us. It's not the federal government. It's not the state of New Jersey. It's no known entity.
It's so cutesy the way they're positioning it, and they keep trying to diminish the situation. But no known credible threat might as well be no known guarantee of safety as well, because they literally, even with the most sophisticated equipment that we have, that DHS sent us, we can't detect the frequency of these things, and we haven't downed any of them yet. And it really has us a month later. These started on November 18th. A month later, we still don't know where they're coming from or why they're operating.
Right.
The Journal article reports that dozens of drone sightings happened between December 6th and December 23rd of last year. They said they were very difficult to track, and at this point, there is no indication that they were a threat. However, it's clear the military wants to be ready in case they are.
But people who live here in Temecula say they're used to seeing helicopters and planes from nearby Camp Pendleton, and they say what they saw was quiet, and one had the video to prove it.
A series of suspicious and unusual sightings of drones near the U.S. bases in Germany has put policymakers and military officials on the edge.
First on the East Coast, now mysterious objects are being spotted on the West Coast, Temecula to be specific, leaving residents buzzing.
Now similar sightings are being reported here in San Diego and across Southern California.
There is a bunch of red lights floating in the sky.
This video was taken by archaeologist Colin Rambo a couple of weeks ago in Lemon Grove.
I was driving down the street, just right down the street from my house here, and I pulled my car over because I saw what looked like a fleet of glowing red orbs.
Unidentified drones have been sighted over sensitive industry locations and the U.S. airbase at Ramstein in Germany in recent weeks. This as per the Spiegel News magazine report. The magazine has cited a confidential report by the German security authorities.
All right, the drones may be multiplying. There have been more reports of mysterious flying objects now from one coast to the other. What's going on?
This is what Brian Dirk saw over his Temecula backyard yesterday evening. But he's not the only one who saw it. There are multiple social media videos just like his from South Riverside County. And listen closely. Witnesses say whatever it was didn't make a sound.
There are drones all over the sky.
And this video was taken 3 nights ago in Temecula.
We eventually saw one really fairly close, and it was just about the size of a car. We were at some points right under them, and there was no noise at all.
Music artist and producer It's Nomad Music said these didn't seem like regular planes or helicopters.
They'll be going just straight one direction, and then all of a sudden they'll just zag, and then keep going or turn around, or they just break really quick.
I looked up because it was coming now right over top of me, and it was quiet. It didn't make any noise.
Melinda Peters saw them last night too in Temecula, which is a mountain range away from Camp Pendleton. The Marine base sent a written statement that reads in part, "We are aware of the drones that are flying over Temecula. They are not associated and do not impact Camp Pendleton's training and operations."
Well, government reports reveal the U.S. military's most advanced fighter jets are dodging unmanned drones right over our Arizona desert.
And Arizona's family investigation found this happened dozens of times in a single year.
But even these drones are unable to reach the altitudes that Air Force pilots reported seeing drones over the Goldwater Range. And one of those drones was big. The pilot reported seeing a 5 to 10 foot wingspan. We found no reports that authorities on the range made any arrests or even spotted the drone operators. Officials from Luke Air Force Base and the Goldwater Range say they are not authorized to talk about what happened out here. And we're still waiting for some other records from a different Air Force department.
After investigation aired in February, we discovered more reports of this taking place. In fact, our nation's military leaders testified before Congress about the issue, saying they are alarmed at how often it is happening.
The number of incursions was something that was alarming to me as I took command last month. I don't know the actual number. I don't think anybody does, but it's in the thousands.
You know, why are the current drone detection and defeat systems that we currently have, why are they failing?
It's an area that we collectively have to continue to work on, not only here in defense here in the United States, but also at our forward locations where we have many of our service members deployed.
Good morning. It really is perplexing, and we're talking about so many states now. New Jersey here on the East Coast, Connecticut, and of course the sightings in California, and no one can say what these things are about.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Julia Thatcher.
And I'm Jeff Herndon. People in several states across the country are concerned about an increase in drone activity with no idea who is behind the controls.
The flying frenzy has reached Kansas as people in Butler and Sedgwick counties have reported seeing multiple drones almost every night. KSN's Derek Lytle spoke to a couple who say it is a problem above their home.
Yeah, Jeff, Julia, Nicholas Mirage says nightly his wife and him have spotted several drones of different sizes hovering around their Augusta home. They say they are now concerned about what business those flying the drones over their property have.
This is not happening just in New York. It's not happening just in New Jersey. That's been going on here.
Several drone sightings over Mulvane, now Augusta. Nicholas Mirage says it's become a problem. He fears of the intentions of those flying the drones.
Invasion of privacy, worries about burglaries. We have seen drones like right outside the window.
His wife Rebecca says they are left with more questions than answers.
We don't know who they are or what they want or what they're doing or what business, they have.
Now, the Butler County Sheriff says he does not believe any type of national security threat has reached the state of Kansas.
Off the top, here at 10, there are additional drone sightings happening right here in our region.
Yes, a mystery that has leaders at the federal, state, and local levels demanding answers tonight.
Now, on your screen is video of drone video taken by a woman who was driving in Bowie on Monday. Now, the woman tells Fox 5 that she saw several drones in the air for about 20 minutes and spotted what appeared to be an aircraft following the drones. Now, a number of Bowie residents that we spoke with this evening say there is some concern, especially one man who woke up to a number of messages about these drones in his community. What went through your mind when you got on the Ring app and you saw your neighbors talking about drone sightings in Bowie?
I was kind of shocked, but wasn't too concerned. I know some people own drones, smaller ones.
I'm not surprised. I mean, drones have been in the motion for quite some time now. The question would be where they were coming from. It would be nice to know if we could determine that.
Now, at the moment, Bowie police say that they don't know who is operating these drones or why they are even in the air at night.
First New Jersey, now Temecula. Mysterious drones spotted in the sky, and now people who live in the area, as you can imagine, they want answers. We all do.
Yeah, so look at this. Brian Dirks saw this over his Temecula backyard Wednesday evening. Now, he's not the only one who saw this. There are multiple social media videos just like this from South Riverside County. Witnesses say whatever this was did not make a sound. A spokesperson for Camp Pendleton says they are aware of drones flying over Temecula, but they are not associated with Camp Pendleton's training and operations.
These are not U.S. military drones. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
But in Temecula, people we spoke with say they are certain they saw drones and just want to know if a business or a government agency or who else might be behind them.
You would think that they'd let people know so that, because like I said, it's become this big thing.
So you heard Camp Pendleton says those drones were not theirs. We also reached out to the Forest Service because the Cleveland National Forest is nearby. They say it wasn't them either. SoCal Edison does confirm they did fly drones yesterday, but they say that was near Menifee and Murrieta and not after dark, so you can rule them out as well. The one agency, though, we have not heard back from is the FAA.
Multiple aircrafts on high alert and some even maneuvering to avoid a reported unidentified flying object over the skies of Western Oregon.
You can't really see anything, at least with this dark video of the night sky on December 7th, taken by Life Flight crew members. But Life Flight pilot Joe Bewley says it was there and it was weird.
It's red in color, moving at
extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast he's moving.
You are cleared to maneuver as necessary, left and right, to avoid the UFO out there.
This is Joe communicating with air traffic control while he was piloting that live flight call to the North Bend, Coos Bay area. And the UFO in question, if you look closely on your screen, that little red dot that floats in and out of the video.
That was the one that was at our altitude that would come up to us and sit for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then it would go back out over the ocean, over the horizon.
He and his crew witnessed this mysterious object continue this odd behavior for more than 20 miles away for about 20 minutes total. This came after a United Airlines flight reported seeing similar mysterious objects zipping through the sky, ranging between 30,000 and 50,000 feet in altitude.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. They're all altitudes, up and down. It's pretty crazy.
A satellite move like that?
I reached out to the Federal Aviation Administration to see if they can confirm this UFO sighting. They kept it short and sweet, saying a pilot saw unidentified lights. The good news is it's not believed Joe or his crew were in any danger as they continued to fly down to Coos Bay and back up to their station in Aurora. But the mysterious object popped up on his traffic collision avoidance system. He says that's not something that a light reflection can do.
TCAS works off a transponder code. So for something to register, it was registering like an aircraft. So the weird thing is we were seeing it as an aircraft inside the aircraft, but ATC wasn't showing it on their radar.
Joe says he has 6,000 hours of flight experience and he's never seen anything like this.
Some New Jersey officials say the aircraft appear able to evade traditional radar and police helicopters.
They appear to actually avoid detection by traditional methods. So when our state police helicopter has gotten close, lights go off and they go away.
The mystery has many demanding answers.
But how do you know there's no threat if you don't know much about it?
What are these drones doing in New Jersey? I can tell you what they're not doing. If they're Martians, I guarantee you they're not staying because the taxes are way too high.
Both Senator Mark Kelly and General Charles Brown said this is happening here and across the country over sensitive military sites. Kelly said there is no doubt that foreign actors are behind some of these instances, which means foreign countries spying on our military operations.
But, it could be anything.
And the concern is that they're maybe getting sensitive information, gathering data, taking pictures. That sort of thing?
Well, if it is, in fact, a foreign adversary, sure. But that seems to be the first thing that has been almost ruled out here. And we've heard that both from the Pentagon and the White House, that they don't see any indication that this is the work of a foreign adversary.
Darrell Williams, a general in Europe, one of our generals, he said it mirrors what they're doing in Europe, particularly in the UK and other places, Germany. So there's a pattern here, and we need to wake up.
President Trump finally threw in today. Just came across, I believe, President Trump, and I read this, mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now. Otherwise, shot them down. I think that, Dan Scavini, I think that's shoot. Shoot. I'm not. Far be it from me to grammatically correct the president on his tense, but then he signs a DJT. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. The president, Trump, who, by the way, I guess is the president since, has anybody had a run like this? He's in Notre Dame looking like Charlemagne. He's at the New York Stock Exchange ringing the bell, giving a great speech. He's got the Time magazine cover. That's the biggest power photo I've ever seen in my life.
What we're seeing is reports coming from all over the country seeing lights and immediately assuming they're drones.
And I didn't find anything to corroborate that these were planes. And I will say they didn't look or sound or act like planes. Like they kind of put your spidey senses up. You're looking in the sky and you see a plane all the time. You know what a plane is. You know what it sounds like. You know the speed. Your brain clocks that without thinking twice. Mm-hmm. And this was just weird. It was acting weird. But the crazy thing is, no one else noticed because I had been on the train and the Free Press had just published an article about this. And so I run the social media. So I posted the article on the train and I get off and I'm like, oh, let me just look at the sky and maybe I'll see something. And I seriously saw something right then. And I'm like, is it a drone? And then I see 3 more and I start filming and no one else noticed. No one else was looking up. And again, if you weren't looking for it, you wouldn't notice it because they look kind of out of your corner of your eye, they look kind of normal. They're blinking, they're a certain size.
I know. The first time I saw them, I thought they were, someone pointed them out to me and I was like, oh, there's the planes. But then they started going in a circle instead of a landing pattern, which I thought was kind of weird.
We saw blinking, lots of blinking things up in the sky to the south, right over the ocean.
Lisa Franciosi has seen a lot of eyebrow-raising things on the Jersey Shore, but nothing like this.
It really has been very disturbing knowing that all these drones are flying over the entire state.
Residents continue to question the large drones hovering just off the coast. They only appear at night, sometimes more than a dozen at a time.
There's a lot of people that are nervous in the state.
Even as authorities in Seaside Heights use drones of their own to try to get a peek of the flying objects, they still don't have answers.
Being out on the beaches, I've gone out with them on the beaches to observe, and they have had their sheriff's deputies and other law enforcement assets come forward and say, in one case, one woman saw 50 of them coming off the ocean. I talked to the people in the Coast Guard, who turned around and said that one of their boats was being trailed on their stern by anywhere from 12 to 30 of these. And I just got off the phone with the commanding officer at Naval Weapons Station Earl, a very fine officer, and he said that they're getting breaches into their perimeter, and there's weapons stored there by these drones. And one of them was 150 feet away from his guys, and they took a picture. I mean, why isn't the Department of Defense, and Austin in particular, Lloyd Austin, calling for, bring one of them down, find out and do it over an unpopulated area or over the ocean, find out who's sending them. I mean, it's very, very provocative.
The drones have flown precariously close to critical infrastructure and sensitive military sites, like Picatinny Arsenal, which provides munitions products to all branches of the U.S. military. But the White House says,
we have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus.
Back in Seaside Heights, Sheriff Michael Mastronardi isn't convinced.
I've never seen 50 planes come over the ocean in my lifetime.
Would you ever consider shooting one down?
Yes.
Not even missing a beat with that answer.
Not missing a beat.
And the drone unit we met says these are sophisticated drones with a wingspan up to 8 feet. These drones can also travel much faster than the ones local authorities deploy. And even when they have gotten close enough to snap an image, the mysterious objects go dark.
And again, this is why I'm so upset with the Pentagon to just say, again, nothing to see here, puts our people at risk. They're probing, I believe. This is not Amazon looking to do, a sale of some goods and bring it in by way of a drone.
But Congressman, you mentioned a very good point there. You touched. I didn't mean to jump on you, sir, but this idea of just willy-nilly flying so many drones in a tightly confined, densely populated area, there are rules in place for getting too close to an airport, public or private or anything in between. Yet we're told that a lot of these sightings have occurred over just such areas. There's got to be a law against that or a violation against that. I
think there's a violation. As a matter of fact, there is a violation. They just need to enforce it. But again, we need to identify, and then take appropriate action. We can't allow this invasion.
Also today, the Naval Weapons Station in Monmouth County stating, quote, we can confirm multiple instances of unidentified drones entering the airspace above Naval Weapons Station Earl. The Biden administration said they have no evidence mysterious drones pose a national security threat.
There are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft.
So what are we seeing in the night skies from New Jersey to Pennsylvania to Delaware?
I want to pose a question that I think is on millions of people's minds around here. What if there were 3,000 reports of drones or manned aircraft sightings over the U.S. Capitol or the White House or the State House in Albany? What would happen? There would be an immediate and intense response to figure out what they were and to solve the problem. And yet, millions of people around here New Jersey, of course, here in Staten Island and beyond, are getting nothing but don't believe what you see.
I think it's a very threatening situation, and I am appalled by yesterday's statements by Admiral Kirby, somehow suggesting that nothing to see here. There's a whole lot to see here, Admiral, and we really, for the sake of national security, DOD has to be on top of this, and they have not been.
If the president, as commander-in-chief, believed, based on the information that he'd been given, that there was a national security threat at play here, or even a public safety threat at play here, he would issue the appropriate directives to not only law enforcement, but perhaps even the military if that was needed. I want to go back to something I said at the top. There has been no evidence of any of this activity in or near restricted spaces.
That's not what the senators said in the letter. They said, in fact, that they've been observed maneuvering their critical infrastructure, sensitive locations, including reservoirs and military installations, and cited a concern from law enforcement about public safety threats because a medevac helicopter was prevented from transporting a seriously injured patient for care because of the presence of these drones.
I stand by my opening statement.
Can you make more sense? Because I think people in New York and New Jersey see drones the size of an SUV over their house every night and think that that doesn't make any sense.
Certainly I understand why people would be looking at this and being concerned about it. We're concerned about it too, which is why we have the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, my goodness, looking at this. And we're taking it seriously. We understand that people are concerned. We understand that they got questions. We got questions too. And we're working hard to get the answers to that. What I can tell you as we sit here today, at 2:16 in the afternoon on the 12th, is we haven't seen any indication thus far that there's a public safety risk, and we haven't seen.
The government know what they are.
We are still investigating this. I can't tell you definitively. I cannot characterize for you.
More drone sightings were reported just outside LaGuardia Airport.
I'm getting multiple calls for drones. I have about 5 to 10 drones hovering LaGuardia.
And still, no one knows who launched them.
So what's going on? Is this some contagious mass hysteria? Or are people really seeing something that our government cannot identify? Our own Rich McHugh went out drone hunting in New Jersey. He did not come back empty-handed. Rich, tell us what you saw.
Hi, Elizabeth. Well, I got to be honest here. When this story first came out a few weeks ago, as a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist, I didn't pay it much credence. I thought it would turn out to be a bunch of pranksters and this would all be over by now. The experience I had last night, however, changed the way I feel about this story completely. What I saw was more sophisticated than I ever imagined. Take a look.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 lights, 6 lights.
I didn't believe what I was seeing, but what was I seeing? We're here in central Jersey. We've been looking for the past hour. I think we've seen about 40 or 50 of these drones. In fact, there's one over my shoulder right there. One after another, these drones appeared in the night sky. If you look real close, they look like fixed-wing aircraft, about 8 to 10 feet wide, colorful, white blinking lights.
That is not a plane.
Definitely not an airplane, but what was it? Hours earlier, I was invited to join the Ocean County Sheriff Department. They launched their own drones to see if they could intercept the mysterious aircraft New Jersey residents have been reporting in recent weeks. The department says these mystery drones evade detection because they don't give off heat like regular drones.
Why do you think that is?
We don't know. It's just something that we haven't, it's not something that we've had our hands on. It's not something that we've experienced.
Something they hadn't experienced until now. One of their officers called 911 after seeing 50 of them come off the ocean.
Advised after we made contact with that officer that there were 50 that came off the ocean.
50?
50. That was my reaction also. There were 50 that were coming off the ocean.
And this is a sworn officer?
A sworn officer, yes. We contacted state police, we contacted the FBI, we contacted the Coast Guard, at which point the Coast Guard went out with their boat and they reported seeing 13 following their boat. And then the Coast Guard also advised that they went over them about 300 feet and had a wingspan of about 8 feet.
I see one right here.
Did I see the same thing that officer saw? I'm still not sure. What I can show you is this video. What I can tell you is I've never seen anything like it before. Wow. In more than a month since these reports started, the federal government doesn't know what they are either.
What's your message to the White House?
My message is come to the Jersey Shore. I know it's wintertime, but come see what we see, and then, maybe they'll have a better appreciation for why our residents are concerned.
The Ocean County Sheriff, that drone unit, they have an industrial grade drone. They put it up. They were tracking one of these drones, Elizabeth, and they said this thing easily evaded them, disappeared out of thin air. To me, if this is not our military, then it's even more scary, and we need the answers, frankly.
Local lawmakers today are demanding answers. One congresswoman says she feels like she's in an alien movie.
20 years ago, they filmed War of the Worlds on Staten Island. And now we feel like we're characters in that movie. What is happening is outrageous.
New Jersey Senator Andy Kim says he went out with the state police last night and personally observed 5 to 7 lights in the sky. Maryland's former Governor Larry Hogan says, last night I personally witnessed and videoed what appeared to be dozens of large drones in the sky above my residence in Davidsonville, Maryland, 25 miles from our nation's capital. I observed the activity for approximately 45 minutes.
Last night, former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan says he captured this video appearing to show dozens of large drones hovering over his home. The same evening, U.S. Senator Andy Kim says he saw this over a reservoir while out drone hunting with local police.
Some appear to hover or at least seem to be in position.
All right, well, Aaron, you are in New Jersey. You've seen a number of aircraft tonight.
That's right, Lester. In the last half hour, we've seen a number of what appear to be drones, all flying erratically with flashing lights.
And on the other hand, if they're not drones, what could they be? The sightings in New Jersey are not isolated incidents either. Similar reports have emerged from parts of the United States and indeed all over the world. And this global pattern of sightings adds another layer of complexity to the mystery. As we continue to grapple with these questions, what's clear now is that further investigation is needed. The US government has shown increased openness, of course, in recent years to discussing unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, and perhaps these sightings will prompt a more thorough examination of our skies and what might be flying in them. In the meantime, residents of New Jersey and beyond will be undoubtedly keeping their eyes on the skies. Well, let's take a look at another clip that shows these mysterious lights from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, that's no plane. That is definitely a drone. First of all, a plane wouldn't even be this low. So, to all who say they look like planes, trust me when I tell you, if a plane was flying this low in this area, we'd have a lot to be concerned with.
Wow, so the precision displayed there and the coordination in this footage are truly remarkable. It's not something I've seen before, and it's not hard to see why some experts are now leaning towards this drone swarm theory. But the intrigue doesn't stop there, because some witnesses reported hearing unusual sounds accompanying these mysterious lights too. One resident described the noise as similar to a strimmer, a garden strimmer, or even a swarm of bees.
Governor Larry Hogan shot this video last night. These lights over his hometown in Davidsonville, just 25 miles from the nation's capital, as he pointed out. And then there's this.
I've never seen them. Wow, they just passed each other. Yeah, I've never seen them before.
New Jersey Senator Andy Kim shared this video of drones he shot yesterday. Federal authorities insist most of these sightings are actually legally manned aircraft. But Senator Kim says he checked a flight tracker app while capturing this video and that the devices he was capturing were not on it. The sightings are happening near LaGuardia Airport, too. Officials say they received unconfirmed reports of drone activity over that busy airport. As for numbers, the FBI says it's received more than 3,000 tips from the public about drone sightings going back to November 18th, all over New Jersey. Since then, there's been an average of 92 sightings per night and expanding across half a dozen states.
Lights in the sky above Dillsburg?
You're seeing that, right?
It's one of many recent reports of lights in the sky above the Susquehanna Valley we've heard about in recent days.
What started out as drone sightings across the East Coast has now appeared in the night sky over Minnesota. Several reports from different parts of the state with blinking lights and flying objects that haven't yet been identified. Fox 9's Rob Olson has been going over all that footage. He joins us live now. All right, Rob, what do you think's going on here? What are the people you've been talking to think's going on?
Well, nobody knows what's going on. That's the problem, is that there's so many questions about what is this? If the government doesn't know, are they trying to find out? Is there anything to worry about?
Lights are extremely bright. They're not blinking. Once it turns to the side, they just glide.
Stephanie Guzman took this video out her window Thursday night in Woodbury. Things that moved like drones but were shaped like diamonds, like a small airplane, she said. She has no idea what they were, except they moved in tandem.
It was just like they were just floating and hovering and moving gently this way and then sliding this way, but they were fast. And once they decided to leave the area, it was like gone.
This video came to us from New Prague, a woman who said the strange lights she saw did not move or flash, but they were also, to her eye, not explainable.
There's another one up there. Oh, crap.
A few days ago, we showed you these videos from a family in Northfield who've seen strange lights since summer.
It wasn't the birthday surprise Josh Fall was expecting.
I looked out into the horizon and I saw about 6 or 7 orbs, I guess, and they were moving around in formation. They were disappearing. They were reappearing at times.
He was treated to a light show courtesy of these unidentified objects in the sky late Thursday night.
It looked peculiar. It was more bright than an ordinary star, and then it was moving. And then I thought that was a little bit weird. It wasn't flashing like a plane or anything like that.
But it wasn't just the Fall family that caught the lights in action. Several people reached out to Global News saying they witnessed the strange occurrence as well, including Evan Ginsberg.
I've never seen anything quite like this. It was incredibly bright. The objects were sort of dancing around at times as well. It was a privilege to see this. It was really interesting, and it was sort of, I was awestruck by it almost in a way.
Just 2. Watch closely in this video from North Grafton. It shows a pair of lights slowly moving past each other in the night sky.
There's one right there.
In Harwich, Lindsay Muto sharing this video with Boston 25 News. She counted more than a dozen last night.
Oh my gosh, at least 15. They looked like they were far away, but they kept coming down and then going back up, coming down and going back up, and then slowly going left and right.
Another video shows lights hovering in the sky near Lynn, another coming in from Saugus, and yet another near Plainville, all raising questions.
Are we safe? I mean, what's going on? I have little kids. It just makes us nervous.
The sightings are similar to those reported over New Jersey in the last few weeks.
Everybody talking mysterious drones making headlines again. This time they're being spotted from one coast to the other, from Connecticut to New Jersey to California. Large drones being reported flying at night, leaving many residents wondering what exactly is going on. And they're not the only ones. These sightings sparking questions on Capitol Hill, too. And many of you have emailed us with pictures and videos showing sightings here in Colorado.
Well, this is not the first time something like this has come up in Colorado. Back in December of 2019, we had a lot of similar drone sightings all across our state, and now they're starting to be seen again. Captivating audiences in backyards across Colorado.
All of a sudden, there was like this bright light, and it wasn't just the bright light, it was the lights the way they were on this, whatever it was. They were not conformed like the plane.
She didn't catch it on video at her home in Aurora, but in Elizabeth, someone else did.
It was flying very low, and it would kind of like stop, and then it would go, and it would go very fast, and then it would stop, and then it would go. So it was just really, I just thought it was really strange.
Say they are seeing mysterious lights described as drones in the sky. It seems to have first started in New Jersey, and now it's happening here in Gaston County. These are viewer videos sent to WCCB of lights in the sky. These videos were taken Thursday night in different parts of Gaston County, Bessemer City, Cramerton, Belmont, even one from Cleveland County near Shelby. lawmakers are demanding answers. The Department of Homeland Security says people are probably just seeing small aircraft.
Not small aircraft. Small aircraft do not contort, change shapes, and change colors. They do not dart across the sky. I don't feel like it's a threat, but I think they know a little more than they're letting on, and I don't know, I think it's exciting.
Let me calm those nerves. We have not seen anything unusual. We have not seen any unusual activity. We know of no threat. We know of no nefarious activity.
So these mysterious aircraft, they're a big talker in Washington, D.C. Lawmakers from multiple states keep asking for answers as more and more people report sightings.
But with so many more people, with so many more mysterious sightings in more places like Woodbury, Minnesota, answers, they say, would be nice.
And it doesn't feel good. There's no answers. I think we all need to demand answers, and I think that's a collective agreement.
And that's really the concern here, is finding out exactly what these are, who's behind them, what they are doing, if there's a simple answer or not. It's clearly probably not a whole bunch of people with things like this, just flying them at night just to scare people. But again, what is it? Who are they from? This is the call that we're hearing more and more across the country. But again, we got 4 or 5 different emails today from people in this area with similar sightings.
There's so many. It's like 10. And they're all over the city.
He recorded this video, which he thinks shows 10 massive drones flying over Temecula and Murrieta last night.
And now multiple reports of another object in Temecula, California.
It was quiet. It didn't make any noise.
I think the public has a right to know what is flying above the skies and what the purpose is.
Another Temecula man recorded what he believes was a car-sized drone flying over his home earlier this week. He checked FlightAware and says there were no planes flying nearby at the time. Advanced analysis could be done by CBS, and it was. It did not confirm that these mysterious lights are drones. Both the Riverside County Sheriff's Department and Camp Pendleton say they did not have drones in that area. On the East Coast, local leaders, including New Jersey Senator Andy Kim, are demanding answers.
I'm just not getting the kind of communication and engagement when it comes to the investigation that's happening by the FBI, Homeland Security.
Now, since last month, more than 3,000 of these sightings have been reported across at least 6 East Coast states. Some of those reports have come from law enforcement and elected officials. At one point, the FAA also issued a temporary flight restriction because of these sightings. The reports have even been made in the area of a New Jersey naval weapons station and Donald Trump's golf course. President-elect Trump weighing in on the sightings, posting mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? I don't think so. Let the public know, and now, otherwise, shoot them down.
Mysterious drones continue to be spotted nightly over New Jersey and New York, and now new reports of drones over Connecticut. Their origin remains elusive, publicly at least.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat.
really just weird. I don't know what it is.
That is a sentiment shared on Capitol Hill.
I've been a little frustrated. There hasn't been enough transparency.
We should be shot down if necessary because they're flying over sensitive areas, whether it's planes that may be jeopardized or security at military bases.
Certainly I understand why people would be looking at this and being concerned about it.
The White House responded to repeated questions suggesting some of these objects may be regular aircraft. Either way, no threat.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat or have a foreign nexus.
One New Jersey lawmaker was unconvinced.
That guy's an idiot. That I can tell you right now, because the colonel of the state police told the members of the state legislature that one of his helicopters was hovering above a 6-foot wide drone, and he landed that helicopter because he felt unsafe for his pilots.
Both the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security say they are still looking into these reports to determine whether these are in fact drones or
sort of like wheel within a wheel, like something like right out of the Bible. Look at these. This is over New Jersey. Does that look like some sort of any kind of a drone that you've ever seen before? Well, the problem is we don't know because no one's telling us. And even in front of Congress, they're not. So that even looks like biblical drawings, like a wheel within a wheel, like Ezekiel, right? I mean, you have drawings like this going back thousands.
You are in Tennessee, so you're in a different area where we haven't heard as much about this. Tell us about your sighting.
Yeah, mine's different than your all's. Mine's a lot different. Mine don't look like what you're showing there at all. These things are round. The ones that I saw were round. And they've got this ring around them, and around the ring, it's got little lights on it, and the light is spinning. And on the video that I sent you guys, you can see that at first before I zoom in on it, because when I zoom in, it gets all blurry, and it looks like it's changing shapes, but it really isn't. But if you look really closely, you'll see how there's a thing spinning around it. And so I don't know mine didn't look like a plane at all. And I saw like 30 of them all together. Yeah, that thing right there was the first one. I believe that was the first one. And when it scooches in, you can sort of see that? You can sort of see there's something spinning around it.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's hooked to it. It's like a ring.
It's so hard at night to video these things. I mean, that's the thing. It's like no matter, it looks so distinctive in person. And then you look at the video, even with our new iPhones, it's just, you can't really capture it. But are you sure it wasn't a plane, Scott? Because sometimes it's hard to tell.
Positive. I think all three of your guests tonight, we're all professional observers, and that's one of the things that we check out. What does it sound like? What does it look like? What is it doing? What does it sound like? And that had no sound at all. And there were, at one point, there were 5 when I after I saw this one, and there were 3 up in the by themselves, and there were 2 ahead of it that came past those. And then as they went on, the other 3 started following that one. Then they split up. And then I got video of where there's one there in different sections of the front yard and the backyard. You could see them through the trees. But these were completely different than what you guys were seeing. These are completely different.
You know, when things like this are happening, it seems everyone starts to look up, like my crew and I have been here in Mendham recording this video that you're looking at right now. We have no idea what it is, if it's a natural phenomenon, because it could be, but this is why so many municipalities are now asking people to reach out and send their videos to them or to experts who might be able to sort out what they're seeing in the skies. But I guarantee there are so many people looking up and making those recordings because this mystery is one that needs to be solved. For now, we're live here in Mendham Borough. Tony Yates, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Lee's saying he's wondering whether or not that might be the moon, Tony, but you pointed out it's exactly the question people are asking. What is it?
No. Yeah. Yeah, no, we're looking at the moon right now, and that's nowhere near the moon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the moon.
They didn't make a sound. It was, a couple hundred feet above us. You just didn't know what you were looking at. It was moving across the sky very quietly, and we kept saying to each other, like, Nick and I, like, what are we looking at? Like, are you getting the shot, and what the heck are we filming? There's a couple shots you can see where you can see that it's fixed wing, and it doesn't look like a plane. It almost looks like inverted. It sounds crazy as I say this now, Brian, like that's what you're seeing on the screen. That's what we were seeing right above our heads, and it happened till about 11:30 at night, and then it started to like die off, and I was like, we could stay out here all night, but I went to bed. This is my community. I've never seen these things in the sky over my community before. I went to bed thinking, like, this is wild. These things are flying over our homes, over our residences. There's a military Earl, which is a munitions depot just like about a mile and a half behind me. They've reported sightings of these things above, and they said they're ready to take action if they need to. This is for naysayers out there, like, this is real.
So how many did you see at once, Rich? Was it just the one, or?
Well, no, I think we would see a couple at a time in various parts of the sky over this water. And we'd be like, oh, we didn't get this shot on that one. And they'd be like, well, wait, we'll just wait. You know, I'm sure there'll be another one. And sure enough, like, one started creeping towards us. And it's like, it felt like I was in a bad sci-fi movie, like that it was just, that I was placed in, but it involved my actual hometown. It was very, very surreal.
I mean, to hear you saying this, again, it just sort of hits me in a different way coming from you. Wow.
The buzz is very big in the desert Southwest, where it's really never gone away after some weird happenings in the skies over Phoenix recently. And here's NBC's Robert Hager.
This is one of several home videos recorded that night last March. A few say they saw the lights as far as 100 miles north of Phoenix. Many more saw them over the city or to the south.
It was the evening of March 13th, 1997. People across Arizona, especially here in the valley, reported seeing a silent, miles-long V-shaped group of lights gliding quietly overhead. Was it a military mission? A prank, perhaps? Or visitors from outer space? The questions and confusion over the sighting have only grown during the prevailing years.
Some, like Tim and Bobby Lee, claim they saw even more.
Something was there. It was a structure. It was going 35 miles an hour. It was huge. It didn't make a sound. And you tell me what can do that.
It was flying low. It was within half a mile of me. There's no plane path at that point, and it didn't act like a plane. A plane can't turn that fast. And it also had oddly spiral kinds of movements that you just don't see with a plane.
And so it was
and
last
there was no
night.
noise. Again, no noise. Yeah,
No
exactly.
noise. Rich, you were out on the story last night, didn't know what to expect, and take it from there. I mean, what happened?
Off the top, I've been skeptical of this story. As a resident of New Jersey, as a journalist here, I thought it was going to be some sort of yahoos, and we would get a laugh out of this in several weeks. What happened yesterday completely changed my entire view on this story. Earlier in the afternoon, I was out with the Ocean City Sheriff's Department. They have a drone unit. They've investigated these things. They've saw a bunch over the weekend. We did not see any with them last night. I was coming back home. I got a tip. Monmouth County, they're spotting them in Monmouth County. That's where I live. So I raced up here and I tried to figure out where the picture was that somebody sent me. And sure enough, I saw one. So I trailed it to a neighborhood, a dead-end street, and I got out of my car and I took my phone out with my iPhone, and I couldn't really capture it, but I was staring literally at this drone 200 feet above me, maybe. I called our photographer, Nick, and I said, get up here as soon as you possibly can. Meet me at this location, etc. I tracked a few more to the location where we are right now, over a body of water behind us. And I gotta say, Brian, over the next 2 hours, we saw dozens and dozens of these things, and they look like nothing you've ever seen before. I'm not even sure I'm right in calling them a drone. You know, they looked like they were fixed wing aircraft. They had multiple, blinking lights. They did not look anything like a plane, because there's plenty of planes flying overhead. Like tonight, they're not here. We're seeing just planes. Last night was totally different. They look creepy, and they move at a different pace. We tried to even follow a couple. They went off in the distance and disappeared. It's completely rewired my brain on this topic, and I'm a believer, and we need answers. and we don't have answers, and we need someone to step up and say, here is what's going on. Because otherwise, like, we're heading down this path in New Jersey and these states where people are just going to take this into their own hands.
Yeah, and I'm looking at your video right now. We have it in the middle of the screen. I know it's tough at night when you're using your iPhone and it's pitch black. You said you were near the water, but so it's kind of hard to see. But, you know, we've heard these reports from people, but hearing it from you, Rich, as our investigative reporter, knowing you, knowing the kind of work you do, it is kind of freaky to hear you say that that you couldn't identify it. Describe it a little more. I mean, how big, and, you know, when I think of a drone, you think of like it's got the four, it's almost like a little helicopter with the four rotors. Are these not, do these look different than that?
They look different. They almost look like a U-shaped or a V-shaped. They didn't make a sound.
People across Arizona and in some other states report seeing a silent, miles-long V-shaped group of lights gliding quietly overhead.
People up in northern Arizona saw lights that were distinctly red. Major sighting here.
Valley resident Dr. Lynn Kitai saw the lights that evening and has been exploring the phenomenon for decades. She says rather than interest in the Phoenix Lights event fading over time, it has actually evolved.
Because the mass sighting, whatever you've heard, wasn't just 1 or 2 hours. It was many hours, over a dozen hours in over 4 states.
Thousand witnesses who have come forward with regard to what they saw over the state of Arizona on Thursday night, the 13th of March, 1997. It is still an untold story.
Coming from Prescott, south to Phoenix Valley area.
This is huge formation of lights, V formation of lights. Next thing you know, it was in a V shape. And most UFO stories, they always talk about being round ships. This was a big black triangle.
This thing was way lower than an airplane and the much bigger.
Some see just a string of hovering lights. Some grab video cameras to take pictures. The closest thing to official explanation is Air Force planes dropping flares, an explanation UFO investigators say doesn't wash. Those flares happened too far away, too late in the night.
On the night we were taking calls on the hotline in Seattle, we could almost track this object on a map.
Peter Davenport directs the National UFO Reporting Center in Seattle. Call came in that night from many places in Arizona, one he can't forget.
We got a telephone call from a young man who identified himself as being an airman in the U.S. Air Force and stationed at Luke Air Force Base.
At 8:15, the ready alert at Luke Air Force Base, which is two F-15s that we keep on ready alert, they were launched because all broke loose, basically. They encountered something over the sky, over Phoenix, Arizona, over the area of 7th Avenue and Indian School Road. They don't know what it was. The description that one of the pilots stated that they had a visual on it, they've got gun camera film of it, they have no radar tape of it, scared the hell out of them.
He helped the pilot out of the cockpit. He reported to us that the pilot was talking about the intercept, and he was badly shaken by what had just happened in his life.
He saw 5 distinct lights in a triangular pattern. First 3 lights were in a tight triangular formation. He'll never talk. He's a real professional. I've never seen this man scared.
He called to report to us that they had not yet received orders not to talk about what had happened there, but he wanted us to know what had taken place. Essentially, an intercept occurred. Apparently, Luke launched F-15Cs.
Which the first real problem with the caller's story. You see, the last time Luke Air Base officially had 15Cs operating off of these runways was back in November of 1993. Since then, Luke has been purely an F-16 training base. But that doesn't mean that 15Cs may not still come and go occasionally from Luke. Other witnesses insist they also saw fighter jets meet the strange craft.
And 2 jets flew towards, coming from the west, heading east. Both jets flew underneath this big orange orb, and one of them shot off to the north, and the other one double back and flew underneath it and went back to where it came from.
A spokeswoman for Luke Air Base says the base airspace controller officially records no flights from Luke that night. But she says other people on the base do recall planes taking off and landing that night.
He was scared to death. He's not sure what it was. They landed, the base was, we had a complete lockdown. The facility was closed.
2 days after the so-called Phoenix Lights UFO incident, Peter Davenport says the Luke Airman called back.
He had just been hauled into his commander's office, and his commander had apprised him that within 24 hours' time, he, the airman, would be transferred to Greenland, and that he was to pack all of his bags, that he was going to be gone. We have not heard from that individual since the 16th of March, 1997.
So, Rich, you've been reporting on this for a couple of days. What do you make of the Homeland Security response that essentially the people are misidentifying these objects, that most of the time it's planes, and the secretary, Homeland Security Secretary, was actually on TV tonight saying, they keep saying there's no threat to the public. I mean, you've seen them for yourself. You don't seem satisfied with that response.
All due respect, Brian, to the security advisor, it's tone deaf, it's insulting. I know a bunch of state legislatures and sheriffs here in New Jersey who would be happy to talk to him. The Ocean County Sheriff told me a story yesterday that over the weekend there was one of his officers was on the beach, called 911, reported seeing 50 drones come off the ocean inland. They called everybody, the FBI, the Coast Guard, whatever. The Coast Guard went out to investigate, told them they had 13 drones following them in. This is documented stuff. This isn't just like, Bill down the street is calling this in and nobody's verifying these things. These are real people, like police officers. This is happening. So they need to get, they should be scrambling something up here, figure it out. I'm surprised they haven't put a plane up just to say, here's what we've done. But to see no response, no federal response is truly upsetting. And the longer this goes on, as I mentioned before, somebody's just going to take matters into their own hands and just, now that Trump is saying what he's saying, they're going to do it. They're going to take a rifle and shoot one of these things.
Yeah, and I mean, look, with video and phones and social media, you can't just say, oh, nothing to see here anymore. The government can't really get away with that anymore. I mean, clearly everybody's seeing it. I'm just curious, Rich, I'm looking at your video again. It's such good video you got, but you can see the blinking on it almost looks like wings, almost like a plane would, which makes me think, do you think, based on what you saw, these are some kind of military drone, some kind of technology that, because, with UFOs that we've covered, this looks like man-made, maybe, I could say, from what I'm seeing, although it's blurry. I mean, is that the sense that you got?
I hope so, Brian. That thought went through my mind, and there is some sort of hope in my brain that this is a secret military operation that at a base near here, and they're calling it red teaming, where they're coming out to test for lapses in our security and where we would be at fault. I hope that that's the solution, or that's what we find out in a week or 2 weeks. If we don't find that out, if it's not our military, it's worse. It's like it's a scary scenario.
Oh, something's going up real fast. A plane? I can't tell what it is. Whoa, is that moving quick? That could be a drone. I don't know what the hell that is. But that is quick. There's only one remaining right now. Whatever that green flashing one is, he moved quick around it to get it. Super quick. He's like right there with it. Oh, he's like right on it. Ooh, that whatever it was just shut down the drone, if that was a drone. Holy crap.
I vehemently disagree with any assertion that either the FBI or the Defense Department have any clear idea what this phenomenon is over the east coast of the United States. I'm talking to people in the FBI who are utterly baffled by this phenomenon. They tell me they do not know what these objects are. They're not getting answers. I'm told, for example, that these objects are the size of an SUV, a large SUV. So the argument from the congressman that these objects are too small to detect is not correct at all. I'm told that there have been attempts to interdict these objects and that there have been the deployment of anti-drone technology. I've just received information in the last few minutes about the PSEG nuclear site at Salem, which is the Hope Creek Generating Station on a 740-acre site in Salem County, New Jersey. And a person who is privileged enough to have access to the internal messaging about that nuclear station has told me that they tried to deploy an anti-drone technology over multiple drones that were seen over the nuclear site, and that anti-drone technology, which normally works on all drones, completely failed. Moreover, these objects, whatever they are being seen not just on the East Coast, they are being seen all over the world. I'm getting reports from here in Australia, from Japan, Indonesia, China, Russia, Europe.
It's smooth sailing at New York Stewart International Airport Saturday night, unlike the nearly hour-long delay the evening prior after a drone in the airspace stopped all flights.
It's always a nuisance.
Drones have been spotted throughout the tri-state since mid-November. The FBI says they've received about 5,000 leads since then.
It's not good.
And so they're just giant triangles with lights on them that are dead silent.
And then there's this video sent to NBC4 tonight from Hemet, a viewer saying they spotted 2 drones just after 6 o'clock. Similar sightings are spreading on the East Coast, Maryland, New York, New Jersey.
I've never seen anything like it.
They're not really doing anything. They're just existing. They're just flying around. And then the other night we found out that there was like 5 of them that we watched go from northwest to directly west over the hill of Rancho California and directly towards the sea.
There are things flying overhead that they don't know their nature, and therefore it needs to be figured out, and especially if these things belong to adversarial nations. So I think it's a priority to figure out what these things are, and I'm leading the Galileo project at Harvard University. We built one observatory that monitors the sky 24/7. We just released a paper that discusses the first 500,000 objects that we found in the sky, some of which we couldn't identify. And we are building 2 other observatories in order to figure out whether there are any extraterrestrial gadgets out there.
Moving lights. Okay, we love it. So what is this? I'm just hanging out.
So this new video from KTLA viewer Sharon shows what appears to be a drone over the San Fernando Gardens community. That was at 4 o'clock this morning when she sent that over to our newsroom, with multiple other sightings across our part of the country. A TikTok user captured video of possibly 5 drones in Riverside. They've been spotted in Temecula as well earlier this week. So exactly what's going on? Temecula is near Camp Pendleton, a military base, but the Marines say they're not involved. Riverside County Sheriff, well, he suggests the drones could be from Southern California Edison, which inspects power lines with drones. However, the utility company says they don't fly drones at night. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office has received no formal reports, but is referring all concerns this morning to the FAA, which is now investigating. Well, the sightings began last month in New Jersey with reports of large drones, some the size of a car, flying at night. Since then, they've appeared in New York, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, and California. One local TikTok user captured footage of at least 10 drones flying over the city, saying that they vanished after turning off their lights.
For me, it leads me to believe that there is a true uncertainty about what's going on here. I find it hard to believe that the Biden administration can continue this policy of cognitive dissonance on this topic. Hundreds of people are seeing these events. They've occurred not just this year, but years in the past in the same area. And this is now a reoccurring trend that we need to come to terms with and be able to deal from a national security perspective and from a domain awareness perspective.
So as a former F-18 pilot and a trained pilot, obviously still, why don't we just shoot a couple of these down when they're over a rural area, which they are every single night in New Jersey, and get a look at them?
Ultimately, our systems that we typically employ, especially on fighter aircraft, are not well designed for very small targets, both from a targeting perspective as well as a collateral damage perspective. But before we talk about shooting these down, we have a lot of investment and a lot of capabilities within our government to be able to identify objects at a distance. And we need to bring the full brunt of the government and the Pentagon's force at play here to be able to understand what these are, identify them, characterize them, and if need be at that point, choose a prime target to bring down and further inspect.
Do you have a sense or a theory based on your work as to what these are?
It's very tough to say. What we do know is that this is something that we have been dealing with for multiple years in this region of the country, starting in Virginia Beach, at Langley Air Force Base last year as well. And now we're having exponentially more sightings just hundreds of miles to the north. And it's not restricted to just people on the ground. My nonprofit, Americans for Safe Aerospace, has been receiving reports from commercial pilots, military pilots, and veterans for over a year now, showing how consistent and how problematic this issue is at altitude where they're flying around. We need to have a better coordinated response and actually listen to the people on the ground and in the air that are seeing things. And I would encourage them to use this as an opportunity to destigmatize this topic, encourage more reporting, whether that be through existing mechanisms or at safeaerospace.org, so that we have a true accounting and understanding of how prevalent this problem is.
As a scientist, I can only attend to real evidence. And my hope is that if the government has such evidence, they will share it with scientists, because what lies outside the solar system is not a matter of national security. It's of interest to everyone on Earth.
Yes, I would say it's pretty fundamental, isn't it?
What about the fear here at home of the drones? Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey and ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people. And they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
You may have noticed unusual lights in the sky the last few days. This is a video sent in by an NBC5 viewer over the Canadian border. This was last night in Brushton, New York. We've also heard reports of these lights in Vermont.
And one of the latest sightings was actually here in Ohio.
Yeah, that's right, Kristen. It happened late Friday night at Wright-Patterson Air Force just outside of Dayton.
Daily News reports that the base says no property was damaged and no one was harmed. I went to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. They were unable to talk to us, but we did talk to a few people who live in the area. Nobody I spoke with saw the drones Friday night, but they were familiar with the sightings on the East Coast. Tyler Morgan lives near Wright-Patterson's Air Force Base and was surprised to find out the airspace was shut down for around 4 hours, and he was first hearing about it 2 days later.
I was kind of shocked to hear they made its way out here. I think there's a lot of unknowns. I think it's kind of weird. No one really knows what it is.
Alex Blankenship lives 1 mile from the base. She says after seeing the New Jersey sightings near the East Coast, she thought it was only a matter of time before they made it to Wright-Patterson's Air Force Base. With limited information, people are trying to fill in the blanks
while officials work to figure out exactly what was going on. But at that same exact time, an airport in New York had to shut down because of similar drone sightings. At this point, it's unclear whether the sightings are related.
And more mysterious drone sightings continue to be reported nationwide. Viewers sending in videos to Fox 11 of weird objects seen above Long Beach overnight.
Reports of mysterious drone sightings continue to come in from cities across the U.S., including several right here in and around Metro Atlanta.
In different parts of the town.
Can you tell us more about what you witnessed last night, Whit?
Yeah, it was interesting. The weather wasn't so great, and again, these objects were at a distance, but you could tell some distinct differences, right? We were watching the planes that would fly from one side of this reservoir to the other in a linear fashion. These objects would go left, they'd go right, they'd go up, they'd go down, and then they would just hover in place for a while. So there were some distinct differences. We just couldn't positively identify what it was.
And aren't officials using some new equipment to be able to differentiate between the two?
Yeah, and the equipment's pretty basic here. They're using flight tracker apps. So if they get a report, they go out and they're actually looking at the planes in the sky. And we were doing that too last night. So you could see the plane, say, oh, that's a Delta flight, American Airlines. And then there are these other objects that we weren't able to determine.
It's a phenomenon taking place from New Jersey to Virginia and even here in Baltimore.
And so it was just me and this little thing staring at each other for about 15 minutes.
Drone sightings are the hot topic of conversation, especially for those who've experienced it.
At first, I thought it was the light on the tower, but then I looked around and realized it's way too far up and way too far out.
Blue captured this video in the Mount Vernon neighborhood Saturday evening.
And as I began to film, it started doing this dance. And as it moves, I move, making these very erratic movements.
It shows what appears to be a flashing light, at some point making quick moves and sudden stop.
Can a drone do that? Sure. But whose is it? I'm not an aviation professional, but I'm pretty clued in. And I wouldn't know of any helicopter or any type of plane that could do that.
At least 4 pilots flying over Oregon reported seeing bright lights like these recently. They think they're most likely satellite flares. Experts have been following flare-ups like this since 2022, when 5 other pilots saw bright moving objects over the Pacific Ocean.
But the bright orange light spotted above the Eugene area was clearly different.
The biggest thing that stood out is it was changing directions. Usually things don't change directions.
Audio recordings captured his conversation with air traffic controllers.
It's red in color, moving at extreme speeds. I don't even know how to describe how fast it's moving.
You are cleared to maneuver as necessary left and right to avoid the UFO out there.
At least 4 commercial pilots spotted the same mysterious bright lights above Oregon this weekend.
We're seeing 3 or 4 targets. You know, they're all altitudes up and down. It's pretty crazy.
Bewley said the lights showed up on his aircraft's collision avoidance system.
On my TCAS, traffic collision avoidance system, it's in one of my middle screens of the Platus. You can see aircraft on it usually. And I saw a target that would stop right on that ring, and before it would go back out over the horizon, disappear out over the horizon off the ocean.
So your aircraft's collision avoidance system was picking something up, and yet it wasn't showing up on other radar?
ATC said they couldn't see it.
We went on patrol with the Clinton Township Police Department.
Once the sun goes down, these drones come out. Once the sun comes up, they're gone. Some calls will be 1 drone hovering over the house. A few days ago, we got 30 drones.
Within minutes, we spotted lights hovering over a large New Jersey reservoir.
You see how slow these ones are moving? The 2 that are on our flight radar. And then that one, the plane, is moving quick. These kind of just hover, go really slow.
I need the government to just tell the truth. I need the government to understand that we're big enough to be able to handle it.
This comes amid growing concerns about a series of unexplained drone sightings in the Northeast in recent weeks. In New York on Friday, Stewart International Airport forced to temporarily close its runways after multiple sightings nearby.
And seems like there's multiple drones all over this airport tonight, man.
The Biden administration insisting it has no evidence to suggest a national security threat or foreign involvement.
Is this a spacecraft?
dozens of people across Massachusetts and New Hampshire are catching unconfirmed sightings on camera, similar to the drones that have been seen flying around New Jersey in recent weeks.
I mean, they were huge.
Lindsay Muto says a dozen drones were hovering around her home in Harwich, so she called the police.
It's very concerning and unnerving and unsettling.
We reached out to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and the Department of Defense. The Department of Defense told us to confirm with Wright-Patterson, who we have not heard back from. We're working to learn if they believe these drones are connected to those spotted on the East Coast.
Growing concerns over drones causing more videos like this to take off.
Definitely not a helicopter.
Flashing lights near Long Beach Friday night. This one in Temecula, close to Camp Pendleton.
The public has a right to know what is flying above the skies.
Yeah, that's no plane.
I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Well, Guy, we know he is receiving intel briefings, but he won't comment on the drones in particular.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people for the last few days have been saying the government must know what's going on here or have a better handle on it than what they're sharing with us publicly. And then that's exactly what the president-elect just said. Basically, we know, and they're just not telling the public. So I think that will fuel some more discussion around this issue. You described the press conference, Kaylee, more broadly as freewheeling, and it was definitely that. It went on for quite a while. I think it is appropriate for heads of state to respond to questions this way on a regular basis. He's not technically head of state yet, but kind of seems like he is, right? Given the absence and just the muted volume on almost anything from the current president. Even with the freewheeling nature of that, and it was definitely wide-ranging, you've worked with him very closely. I've just been an observer. It seemed like there was some restraint by his standards as well. He covered a lot, but not quite as much bravado. That was at least my impression.
Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation.
David Chica Flemington says he's been seeing hovering orbs of light.
I can't describe it because I've never seen it before, so people think you're crazy. And it just sat there, and all of a sudden it just, like, you literally blink and it's gone.
And he was hoping to see National Grid working on some lines, and that is when he saw flashing red, blue, and white lights coming from the sky. This is some of the video that he sent us that you're seeing here. He said it spooked him. Although Scott Kibbe did not realize what it was at first, he says the drone was moving in all sorts of directions. Both sheriffs for Albany County and Saratoga County say they've received numerous phone calls from residents about this as well.
I really was kind of not sure what I was doing and seeing, so I was even more skeptical. That's why I wanted to get video. I was very surprised. It was there for a lengthy period of time. I'd say that it was in that space for at least 45 minutes.
These three lights were in a sort of a triangle kind of formation, an odd looking thing, and I'm thinking that doesn't look like a plane. It started flying erratically.
Witnesses at first thinking it was aircraft heading to nearby Camp Pendleton.
You could hear them, and you couldn't hear this thing.
Angel says he's uneasy after seeing 5 zip over his head toward the Pacific Ocean.
You know, it's just kind of scary to think like who's watching, and the fact that we contacted the sheriffs. The Marietta PD commented on a post of mine. Nobody knows whose they are.
After a burst of drone activity lighting up the night skies above several states, including New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, and Ohio too now. Just the other night over the weekend, we had one in Dayton above Wright-Patt Air Force Base, believe it or not.
Officials have not confirmed if these sightings are linked to those that recently happened near the East Coast.
The thing is why isn't anybody talking? The regulations are clear. You don't fly in restricted airspace. I mean, there's not a drone operator out there that is that dumb.
Questions about mysterious drone sightings are continuing to grow across the country. Now they're getting closer to home.
Naval Weapons Station Earl in Middletown also confirmed several new sightings in the last 24 hours.
Oh, it creeps me out. It freaks me out, yes.
Back in October, the Pentagon confirmed unidentified drones flew over Langley Air Force Base here in Hampton. Today, the House Homeland Security Committee says they want answers.
Unidentified drones were spotted over a U.S. airbase in Germany and sensitive industrial sites, including arms makers and chemical plants. That's according to the Spiegel News magazine, citing a confidential report by German security authorities. The report flagged numerous drone sightings made in the evening hours of December 3rd and 4th over the airbase. It's unclear who was flying the drones.
McDonald says geo-tracking on drones makes it extremely difficult to fly them in restricted airspace without being caught. He says the drone shouldn't even be able to start near the Air Force Base.
Those airspaces are tightly controlled, and people get arrested for accidentally getting too close to one. So to have these things flying everywhere in the numbers that they are, somebody knows about it.
It's just like this ominous presence, which is not a comfortable feeling.
Rebecca Landerman from Palm Beach County tells me she believes she saw these drones while driving on the Florida Turnpike north of Port St. Lucie.
Give us any kind of answer and it's less scary, but you just don't know why it's there.
And right before it got to the stoplight, it turned off this way.
Alex Rodriguez Torres drives us along Port St. Lucie Boulevard to where he believes, this drone.
When it shifted and I could see the outline of the whole shape, which was circular, I was like, I can't believe this is a drone in our town, like the one in New Jersey, in this little Port St. Lucie, you know?
Did it freak you out at all?
A little bit. I mean, it's strange to see that.
But he's not the only one. Viewers from the Treasure Coast of Palm Beach County have been sending us video and pictures of what they believe are drones after weeks of sightings all along the East Coast.
Not a plane. That is a drone.
It's just like this ominous presence.
The controller can be heard describing the situation as it unfolded Friday night.
And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see.
A Wright Pat spokesman confirmed the sightings to WLWT, saying small unmanned aerial systems were spotted in the vicinity of and over Wright-Patterson Friday night into Saturday morning, closing the airspace for several hours.
All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson-class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
The sightings, similar to the ones spotted on the East Coast.
That's crazy. That's something else. This world come changing by the day.
It's just kind of scary because I only live 2 minutes away from here and I live close to the base. So it's like if it's something fishy, they need to go on, get away from the base because
The way John has been reacting to things, I know they know. The question becomes, why aren't they telling us what they know? And this is where there's a mystery. These things are flying, obviously, with lights on. They're following FAA rules mostly. So it's either one of two things. It's either a secret U.S. project. That's why Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas said nothing to worry about.
When the sun goes down, the drones come out, sometimes flying solo, but at other times flying in groups that look like organized formations. New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer says he's fed up with the lack of explanation.
I think if these things are foreign, you shoot them down. If they're ours, you say, hey, we're doing an experiment. I actually was on air the other day, and one of my colleagues asked me, it's like, well, could it be a secret experiment? It's like, we do secret experiments all the time, Sam. That's why they're secret. Nobody observes them. So, you know, it's kind of an awkward situation. So at this point, it's a mystery. Look, I think it'll be cleared up by next week at some point. Somebody's got to tell the truth about what's going on.
The plot has thickened even more.
Yeah, so many questions following the sightings. The FBI and the White House still say they don't know the origin. They also say they don't have any evidence that the drones pose any sort of threat. Still, though, Wright-Patterson is asking people in this area if they see anything suspicious, including drones, to report it to either security forces or the local police department.
Look, the fact that they're out there saying there's no evidence means that they have no knowledge. They don't know what this is. And yes, of course, some of these wind up being manned flight, but not 5,000. And what's really tragic or frustrating to us in Congress is that the FBI has known about this since the beginning of November, and we're getting informed, just like with the Chinese spy balloon, after the public sees it and raises concern. And that's really unacceptable. We're a co-equal branch of government. The Constitution's pretty clear, and they should have been communicating with us a lot sooner. And it's worse than just here in the U.S. I mean, we've had it happen over Ramstein Air Base in Germany. The DOD has the authority to shoot these things down. Northcom has the authority to shoot them down. And nothing yet has happened. And you can't find out what these things are until you get one in your hands. You got to get it, hack it, and download the data. That's the only way to discover it. DHS and DOJ and DOD have the authorities. They just haven't acted.
Just want to pull this up as well. Here are some New Jersey residents and what they said to the New York Times. I think it's like an invasion. I feel like our privacy is kind of invaded. Or the kids are all asking, what's going on? Why do we have to close all our blinds? What's real and what isn't? Personally, I'm exhausted. So I think that's a really good point what you said. No evidence doesn't mean no knowledge. But is there some way that the government could reassure people so that they don't have their kids worried, especially if it's just an airplane?
Well, we know for a fact it's not DOD. I mean, if they were flying test drones or some agency of the federal government, they would own it. They'd say, yeah, we didn't alert people and sorry about that. And that would put an end to this. We know that's not the case. And we know all of them are not manned aircraft, because if that were the case, they would say so. So yeah, no evidence that it's X, Y, or Z, foreign or criminal. That means they don't.
To be clear, that we tried to turn that pretty quickly. What we were looking for all is not in there. He was asked, are these Department of Defense assets? He said no. None of them are, was the follow-up. He said no. He is confirming again on the record these are not military drones, John.
I'm curious. Did he wave his fingers like Alec Guinness did when he said these are not the drones you're looking for?
And we're going to have more on that after the break. The question about the House briefing being classified. Why when they're just hobbyists?
Why does it have to be a classified briefing if these are just hobbyist drones? They're not military drones. Why is it a classified briefing on the Capitol Hill?
I'd have to refer you to Congress on that. Again, sharing as much information as we can here. I don't have the briefing in front of me, so I can't tell you specifically, what aspects are classified or not. I can assure you, though, that again, we are sharing as much information as we can based on what we know.
So for the moment, this whole drone business remains a mystery. Nobody seems to have any information, but somebody somewhere has got to know what's going on.
The answer to Jen Griffin's question about why classified on the Hill right now when these are hobbyists was, I'll have to refer you to Congress. I mean, it just gets more and more bizarre. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Sandra Smith.
Classified briefings about something which we know nothing about.
Does the Pentagon have any indications that those drones in New Jersey are somehow different in size, activity, etc., than the drones that have been spotted at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Hill Air Force Base, and other locations in the past few days?
Chris, what I would tell you is we don't see a connection at this point between any of those activities. Again, just taking a step back here, 8,500 drone flights a day. But again, don't see a connection at this stage.
And then my second question, has the Pentagon determined who was responsible for the drone incursions over the bases in the UK over the past month?
Yeah, to my knowledge, still being looked at. I'd have to refer you to the UK MOD and US Air Forces in Europe.
Do people know what these are? And obviously I'm not referring to airplanes when I say these.
Correct. So we've had a number of these drone incursions over military bases, over highly confidential, secretive sites, over areas like arsenals, over nuclear sites over the last several years. And we recently had a 2-week drone incursion over Langley. We just had one a week and a half ago over Wright-Patterson. These are important military bases, and we need to have better authorities to be able to take these drones down. I don't think we do know whose they are or even what technology they're using. It's a huge concern for me personally, for members of the Intelligence Committee and members of the Armed Services Committee. I created an office with Senator Rounds and other senators, Senator Rubio, to find these unidentified aerial phenomenon, whether it's drones, whether it's spy balloons, whether it's any other kind of aircraft, and assess what are they, whose are they, what technology is being used. And that work has been reviewing hundreds of sightings over the last several years, and they figure out about half of them. Half of them they can figure out are aircraft or helicopters or drones or balloons, but there's half that they don't have enough data, they don't have enough information, or it just isn't something they can figure out. So it is a concern. We should be treating it like a national security issue, especially when it's over critical infrastructure like bases or nuclear sites.
Do you think the Biden administration is doing enough?
I want to do much more. I'm very concerned that the FAA and the DOJ and Homeland Security aren't doing enough to assess whose drones these are and whether they are adversarial in any way. I think when they say something like, well, we have no evidence that they're foreign operated or adversarial or problematic, they don't have any evidence that it's not.
Right.
So I understand they want people to not be afraid, but they should be as concerned as I am because of these incursions over our bases and sensitive military sites. For 2 weeks, Langley had drone incursions, and it was the type of technology that our radar didn't detect them arriving. So it is problematic.
To say that sightings that people in the Coast Guard, in the United States Navy and Naval Air Station, Weapons Station Earl, which is in my district, they've seen drones at and right in close proximity to that munitions depot. People at Picatinny in like manner. Many law enforcement people have seen it. They've seen it in a way that suggests formations that are coming off the ocean into the land. And even with the Coast Guard, I spoke to one of the commanders who said one of our 47-foot rescue boats, right on its stern, were between 12 and 30 drones following close proximity to that. I mean, they had no idea who they were.
What do they think that was?
Yeah. Oh, they think it's drones. They don't know.
We're going to take this seriously, and so ensuring that installations, in this case Picatinny and Earl, have the capabilities they need to detect, to identify and track as appropriate in the event there's drone activity near those facilities.
With sightings of a large rectangular black object, sometimes called a monolith, often accompanied by Also sprach Zarathustra by Richard Strauss.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I would probably have to think back to the words of a very wise prophet, Obi-Wan Kenobi, who said, "These aren't the drones you're looking for." But beyond that, I'll just have to move along. Okay.
In July 2019, more than 100 unknown objects buzzed and swarmed around 10 U.S. Navy warships 100 miles off the Pacific coast. The objects were documented on camera, on radar, and on thermal sensors. Splash. In multiple shapes and sizes, including huge wingless orbs with no detectable propulsion system. Just drones, no biggie, the Pentagon suggested. A few years earlier, when Navy pilots on the East Coast encountered unusual objects on a daily basis in their training ranges, the debunkers called them drones or balloons or both, certainly not UFOs. In the past few years, the all-purpose term drones has replaced swamp gas and weather balloons as the military's go-to explanation for unknown objects. In what might be the most ironic of the current sightings, intrusions by so-called drones caused air traffic at Wright-Patterson Air Base to shut down this weekend. Wright-Pat is where the wreckage from the 1947 Roswell crash was reportedly stored. Nice touch, drone people.
We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat, or have a foreign nexus.
An assortment of government officials have tried to quell public concerns in recent weeks, but the public isn't buying it, and the mystery drones didn't get the memo either. Social media platforms are jam-packed with cell phone videos of assorted lights and odd objects seen nightly in the skies over New Jersey and many other states, including Florida, Texas, California, and Oregon. Most are likely the lights of airplanes, but some do resemble standard drones, albeit a few the size of an SUV. They do not perform like known drones. New Jersey officials have demanded briefings and say they were told the drones are not a threat, are not being flown by the U.S. government, are not being flown by foreign adversaries, and by the way, the government is unable to track them, doesn't know where they originate or where they go each morning.
It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there.
The president-elect is among those who doubt what the public is being told.
They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment.
That is not an airplane.
In the absence of credible information, rumors have swirled. Maybe they're from Russia or China or an Iranian mothership parked offshore. Or maybe it's a secret operation by the feds to quietly track down a dirty bomb or nuclear materials smuggled into the country by terrorists. Officials have tried to quash such rumors, but their credibility has been impaired. Just days ago, the public was told there were 0 verified drone intrusions into restricted airspace over military bases. Then, in a statement just days later from multiple agencies, including the FBI and the military, it was admitted there have been intrusions by unknown drones over 2 New Jersey military sites. Also confirmed drone intrusions over a nuclear power plant. Prior to the New Jersey outbreak, mystery drones repeatedly flew into the highly restricted airspace over 3 critical air bases in the UK. So what gives?
It's a serious deal, man. We gotta. I think it's a test. Somebody's testing us, and we're failing that test.
Now, at least 2 incidents involving incursions by mystery drones have been reported in Nevada. We're trying to track those down. Expect to have more information, hopefully, tomorrow.
It won't surprise you. This is not a new conversation for us within DoD. I mean, as I highlighted, drones flying, whether here or overseas, is not something new.
And there's multiple of these orbs in our sky tonight, right here in Powell.
Another Delaware County caller saying he saw them over the roundabout on Sawmill at Bunty Station Road.
It looked like a UFO or something, and then it turned its lights off and disappeared.
Moving pretty fast.
More Delaware County neighbors seeing the drones. These folks got video.
It's a drone.
And these people in Hilliard claim they saw the drones as well and caught something more. A loud boom. Then 15 seconds later, another. What is going on?
Drone sightings spreading across the country now. Officials confirmed that unmanned drones have been spotted recently near Hill Air Force Base in Utah. Now, information on the number of drones that were spotted, how close they flew to the base, hasn't been widely or publicly released.
They're monitoring the airspace and working with local authorities to track the drones. Though they won't share details, they say appropriate safety measures are being taken. Hill Air Force Base adds drones are not allowed on base.
Good evening. New unexplained drone sightings in Utah have led to fresh concerns here.
It's a question that continues to grow here about a series of sightings on the East Coast. News specialist Andrew Adams spoke with a couple of Utah eyewitnesses and an expert as well tonight.
Well, the people we spoke to characterize these encounters as anything from really weird to scary. And keep in mind, they happen at opposite ends of the Wasatch Front, West Haven down to Mapleton.
Look, there's 4 of them.
And now in Utah.
What are those?
Eyes are also turning to the skies with unexplained sightings of groups of drones from Mapleton to West Haven.
Big, bright thing in the sky.
Air Force brass confirming to us that small unmanned aerial systems were spotted between December 13th and 14th. None of the incursions impacted base residents, facilities, or assets. We are taking all appropriate measures to safeguard Wright-Patterson and its residents. But the Air Force is not talking about what the objects were or where they came from. We asked state leaders about it. Ohio's Attorney General didn't seem too concerned.
Do our community members in Ohio need to be worried, right, Pat, even, closing their airspace due to this issue?
I have no idea.
To have hundreds of drones, forget the idea that there's thousands, but even hundreds of drones flying in an area that is likely near controlled and restricted space, and they're not able to see the registration number, does not make a lot of sense to me, because to get a waiver, you need to put your license and registration. The registration has to be on the drone where you can see it. So they should be able to go right to the owner.
I think you just made this all more bizarre for all of us.
I know, I'm not helping it.
Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are putting new pressure on federal security agencies to get to the bottom of the mysterious drone sightings. There was another sighting this morning in Texas.
It's unclear exactly what this is, but it's causing folks in southeast Texas to scratch their heads.
I started seeing multiple lights moving across the sky. I've never seen anything like that.
On an otherwise quiet Wednesday night, Cheryl and Dave Bowman spotted what looked like drones flying in their area off the coast of the Bolivar Peninsula. You can see the small objects' bright-colored lights flashing in these videos they shared with us, moving toward the refineries and sparking their interest and speculation.
We would be curious, what would they be doing in that pattern and flying that way and that far from the Gulf over into that, what we think is a strategic area.
They weren't alone in that thought. Their Facebook post showing the mysterious objects causing discussion across our area.
We wanted people to know, because you keep hearing about New Jersey, and now all of a sudden, they're not just in New Jersey.
You and I talked this morning I mean, our conversation is probably very much like the conversation all over the country, like what is going on? You happen to have some pretty in-depth knowledge, though, about these drones. And I know the big thing I took away from our conversation was, why do they need to be up at night?
Yep. So, Sandra, I'm going to make this very easy for your viewership. So let's first talk that a lot of the space is restricted and controlled. So if you are near an airport, you have to be not within 5 miles without a waiver. You can't be over populated areas. You can't be near a stadium like the Meadowlands without a waiver. You can't be near military bases without a waiver. So first, many of these commercial drones have to be getting waivers because you're between Newark, Teterboro, MetLife. There's a lot going on there. Waivers are not easy to get, let me just be clear. Number two, let's talk about use cases for drones. Inspecting solar farms, turbines, cell towers, package delivery, doing, disaster recovery, rooftop inspection. And I could go on, geo mapping, precision agriculture. All of these use cases take place during the day. All of that inspection and imagery and video is during the day. So let's talk about nighttime. Nighttime drones have only been legal for a short period, less than 2 years. Most commercial drones don't fly at night. There is really no reason. And the only reason to do it is certain type of inspection that uses either thermal imagery or maybe they'll use something like infrared imagery.
It's like their own little light show going on up there. It's the flashing red, green, and white lights.
Mysterious drone sightings seen on the East Coast are now being spotted here in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in Tacoma.
That's where we find Fox 13's Dave Detling, who talked with a couple who want to share the video they got over the weekend. So what are you hearing about the drone sightings in our area, Dave?
They say the drones that they saw yesterday in the night sky matches similar to the ones on the East Coast, and they too want to know where these drones came from.
They circled around that way.
Peering up at the stars in Pierce County.
Coming up through here.
Kristen and Shane Elduin won't find any answers in the sky, but they will remember what they saw Sunday night that made them push record.
See if we can see them flying up in the sky, and sure enough, there was a bunch of them coming in from all sorts of directions.
When we were out here, probably saw 8 to 10 of them, I think, in just a span of maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Why are they circling our house?
Cell phone video shows what the family says are drones in the sky, but they say these drones are much bigger than what we're used to.
First off, it's like their own little light show going on up there. It's the flashing red, green, and white lights. And then when you do get a shape of it, it's almost like a plane.
Whatever type of drone, it's now making its presence known in Tacoma. Local officials say they've heard of reports of drones seen around the Narrows Bridge, flying over Commencement Bay, and most recently above the Elduin's heads.
It doesn't seem like anybody really knows what it is, and it's happening all over the place.
The Tacoma drones appear to be similar to others popping up in New Jersey, D.C., and beyond. Tacoma's own mystery drone video already has people chiming in on social media.
Somebody asked about what direction they were coming in. Somebody else had asked about why there was no interception. I believe that anything is possible out there.
Somebody's flying these things around, or I don't think they're flying themselves, but I mean, who knows what they could be. But yeah, I think we need answers or something from somewhere.
Can you tell me the colors? I don't know.
Captivate the nation. Tonight, we're getting a look at similar sightings reported here in San Diego.
We have heard from people in Chula Vista and La Mesa who've reported seeing them. CBS 8's Brian White has the new details.
With everything that's going on in New Jersey and other parts of the country, more people are looking up to the sky more often. And they're seeing what they describe as large drones, but what exactly they are and what purpose they have, we're not getting any answers.
It's hovering, it's sitting right there.
Mysterious drone sightings over multiple states have led to widespread confusion and growing calls for answers.
Americans are finding it hard to believe. We can't figure out where these are coming from.
It just did a 180 turn.
This video was taken just before 11 o'clock last night by Patrick Ellis in La Mesa.
When it made a 180-degree turn, there was no curvature in the turn. It was just straight. Take your controller, flip. You're on it, and it started heading back in the opposite direction.
There's one right there.
And we've received several videos of drone sightings in Chula Vista from over the weekend.
I was able to verify it's not our drone.
Chula Vista Police Captain Miriam Fox is the head of their first responder drone program. I showed her the videos and she checked their flight logs and she's confident it wasn't their police drones.
Not sure what we're looking at in that video. I'm not sure. And it's kind of hard to speculate because you just never know, right? So, but not a police drone.
This is over my house right now. What is that?
As for the mystery baffling not only New Jersey residents, but people all across the country, the government's not saying much, and so people are left to speculate.
I've seen the news coverage, what's going on the East Coast, and it's unusual and very interesting. Don't have an explanation for it. So I think, like everyone else, we're all waiting to hear what is actually going on.
When we're shutting down Air Force bases, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base gets shut down for a while. When commercial airlines are interfered with, they can't do their flight patterns because of these drones. That's weird. You can't tell me the government doesn't know what's going on here. And the fact they will not brief us, they will not level us with us, they won't answer questions in public, there's something really strange that's going on. So, Senator, what I think you're saying is that Rosie could be right. They could be aliens. Anything is possible.
Okay, if aliens are here, and I think throughout your hearings we've concluded that something is here, what are they doing? And maybe more importantly, why haven't they made contact?
Locally, one man has seen drones in the Metro East. Fox News' Patrick Clark joins us live with video you have to see with your own eyes. Patrick.
Yeah, that's right, Mandy. It seems apropos that we would be at the Science Center. We have Tom Friedman's Looking Up sculpture over my shoulder here. That's exactly what one man in Illinois has been doing. He's been looking up, and he caught some video with his phone that he's still trying to determine what exactly he saw. Take a look at this video that a viewer shared with us. Using his Galaxy S21 cell phone camera, he recorded this outside his home in Macoupin County, Illinois. The man, who asked that we not share his last name, narrates his video to best describe what he's seeing in early to mid-October and then as recent as Monday night. Whether these lights or drones are similar to videos that were seen from New Jersey is up for debate, but our Macoupin County resident says the UAPs would fly across the sky very fast in random patterns. He began recording and recounting what he's been seeing to his social media page, sharing with friends.
The last videos I took, Patrick, were last night. I started seeing the strange lights in September. I live in a rural area. I just started seeing weird light configurations, lights tailing each other, just some oddball things. So I just started following them around. No real optical equipment, just a cell phone. They were tailing each other, and I was seeing literally 50 different objects in the sky at night in October. It went from like early October till October 22nd, 23rd.
Tom says when he was observing the UAPs in October, they seemed to have almost a cat and mouse-like movements as if they were at battle. He stopped recording around November, but when he began watching the sky again in December, the drones, or UAPs, were more controlled in their nightly flights.
It just depended, just different lights. What I'm seeing now is not near the activity. They're more stable. You do see them every night. I seen, I think, 7 last night. I videoed them last night. They're more stable lights. They're white as they hover, and then as they start to move, they'll fire up with colored lights. They're red and a aqua colored, like a light green, I would say.
Yeah, so we as humans are learning more and more all the time. That term UFO is no longer used. It's UAP, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, but that even has been changed because it did not include underwater items. And so now it is still UAP, but it stands for Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Whether you call it a drone, a UFO, or UAP, it's still some unanswered questions for you and me.
But they have seen things they just cannot explain. A sheriff's lookout drone tethered to the ground captured this video.
We had something coming at us, and as it's coming at us, it stops, it does like a 180 in the air and then drives away, and then comes back and does like a giant U around us. So that's not normal for aircraft.
So this is really happening?
We think so. It's definitely something that whatever we're seeing, we can't figure out what it is.
is about the drones over New Jersey. I saw this drone. There was one right over my farm. I don't want to sound paranoid that they were looking at me, but I looked at it. It looked at me, and then all of a sudden it took off. Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
The government is insisting, don't worry, it's nothing.
Yeah.
P.S. We don't know about it. And then nobody believes that the government doesn't know about it.
No, we really, we were really, I mean, where we are in this country as Americans, and I don't care what Democrat, liberal, whatever you want to be, no one really believes the government.
The bottom line is that civilian drones don't fly in controlled U.S. airspace over restricted areas. They're not supposed to. We're seeing a rash of this. I have videos on my phone from Andrews Air Force Base, Langley Air Force Base. I wish the Pentagon and this administration would be consistent with their messaging, because all it's doing is turning people really away from trusting their government at a time, by the way, where trust is already at a historical low.
Okay. All those drones over New Jersey. What's behind all of that?
Nothing nefarious, apparently. But they're checking it all out. I think it's just one. There's a lot of drones authorized up there. I think one started and they all got it. Everybody's wanting to get in the deal. But we're following it closely. So far, no sense of the danger.
And that was President Biden commenting last night on the drones flying over the Northeast. His administration claiming that out of the 5,000 plus sightings, fewer than 100 deserved an investigation, and that none present a national security or public safety risk. What about those 100 that need an investigation?
Well, I think Chairman McCall's a smart guy, and when you look at the possibilities out there, they could be an adversarial set of drones out there. They could be U.S. government drones, as we've heard, sniffing, so to speak, for radiation, and they could be, something otherworldly. So let's discount that and look at the two main possibilities.
But I tell you what worries me is the fact that these are over our military installations, and let's not ever forget that this administration allowed a Chinese spy balloon to fly across the entire continental United States, did nothing about it, and now they won't level with us about this. I think it's a big problem, Jesse.
I do too. But I have no idea what they are. It doesn't sound like you do either. And no one's telling anybody. So I'm just going to go with Rosie. And that's pretty bad.
As far as the second part of your question, that's a little more complicated. This is a topic that's been going on now in the U.S. government. Your taxpayer dollars have been paying for serious study for the last 70 years into the topic of UAP, or what was once known in the vernacular as UFOs. Right. This is all the while, and this is one of the reasons why I don't trust the Pentagon, because I was there. The whole time, the Pentagon was telling people UFOs are silly, UAP are silly, there's nothing to see here. We're spending millions of dollars of taxpayer money with the consent of the Department of Defense to investigate none other than UFOs. And exactly what's happening here. You have a air flight safety issue. In some cases, these UAP were getting so close to combat formations, they were literally splitting the combat formation down the middle. So Think about that for a minute. Two F-18s flying in a combat formation, and these things splitting the formation right down the middle. My concern with these drones is right now, Rob, is that you have this schizophrenic approach within the U.S. government, and they're hoping at this point anything that will stick to the wall will work. And this is why they had a private conversation with the House Intel Committee. Notice how they didn't do it publicly. They just said, we're going to have a private conversation. This is after days and days and weeks of saying, folks, we have no idea what's going on here.
At least 17 U.S. military bases near Chinese-owned farmland, reportedly seeing a surge in drone activity and sightings in recent weeks. The sightings happening near bases in Hawaii and installations in Utah, California, Maine, and Florida. House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Michael McCall has been warning about the drones in focus these last couple of weeks.
Among the surge of migrants crossing the southern border and making their way to New York City, asylum seekers all the way from China.
Many of them are finding their way into long-established communities and leaning on family and friends for help.
To ward off the dominance that we continue to see from communist China.
Right. And these compact states, it's $2.4 billion over 20 years. But the other issue, of course, is the border, as you've talked about, because across that border, we are seeing Chinese soldiers come across. And really what we're talking about is China putting together the infrastructure in the U.S. to attack the U.S. So clearly we've got to secure that border or we're going to be fighting on our own soil.
Well, it's just incredible to me that this administration refuses to acknowledge all these Chinese nationals that are coming through the border. They're creating a little mini army. And I'm wondering what the point is here. Are they trying to put people in place, I'm talking about communist China, so that when and if Donald Trump wins, they can create havoc in the streets and become saboteurs, starting wildfires and propaganda?
Absolutely. That lab in Reedley, California, the secret Chinese biological weapons facility, that can't be the only one that China has. And then you put together these images of recent Chinese migrants coming into the U.S. less than 3 weeks, taking target practice with sniper rifles and pistols. So really what we have here is the makings of a Chinese army, not in China, but in the United States itself. And the Biden administration is not tracking these people.
This is incredibly disturbing.
A massive ongoing Chinese hack of telecom companies that's possibly intercepting phone calls and text messages in the U.S. right now, leading to an unprecedented FBI warning to consumers. The head of Homeland Security calling the threat, in his words, very, very serious.
It's a very sophisticated hack. I can't speak publicly to how it occurred, but the telecom providers are focused intensely on it.
Officials from the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, and the FBI say Americans need to protect what they say on their phones with encryption. Translation, if you're an iPhone user texting someone on an Android, there's a good chance your messages are unprotected from hackers. The workaround, using end-to-end encryption apps like Signal or WhatsApp. The hack, dubbed Salt Typhoon by Microsoft, the FBI calling it an espionage campaign.
This is the most persistent campaign the United States has ever seen, from an advanced hacking crew to break in, and it was a matter of time, really.
The FBI saying China was possibly listening in on calls from Senator Chuck Schumer's office and both the Trump and Harris campaigns. The Chinese government denied the accusation.
Phone calls were tapped, text messages were read, voicemails were read, as well as call records.
Verizon said when the hack was revealed, it is, quote, committed to assisting law enforcement in this investigation.
The system has been broken for decades.
Why not take executive action right now? Why not do more right now to address this?
What executive action are you suggesting that we take that we haven't taken that would survive court scrutiny?
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas telling us he's working with China, which currently refuses to take back Chinese migrants who are deported from the U.S.
Well, that may be changing. We have been working with the People's Republic of China to actually receive individuals whom we have determined are not eligible to remain in the United States.
You know, at this point, it's really not right that the Pentagon has not given us more information as far as these drones are concerned. Of course, everyone's going to just start speculating. We need some real answers from the Pentagon to really understand what's going on. I mean, the fact that China is surveilling America is not a secret. Everyone knows that that the surveillance programs are in place, and they're once again around our military bases. But we're not getting any answers from anybody. Meanwhile, President-elect Trump reportedly inviting Chinese President Xi Jinping to attend his inauguration next month. This is according to CBS. Trump invited Xi back in early November, right after the election. This invitation comes as trade tensions intensify between the U.S. and China over proposed tariffs. The move would place a 25% tariff on Canadian and Mexican goods, plus an additional 10% tariff on imports from China. Xi Jinping has warned the U.S. against renewing a trade war, saying that there will be, quote, no winners.
You know, the increased tempo of these drone flights against our military bases is occurring at the same time as there's increased frequency of incursions and attempted incursions of these bases by Chinese and other nationals. Really, what is occurring here is that they are preparing to attack the United States from American soil. I don't know why we need an engraved invitation from Beijing. It's clear what's going to happen. We are going to get hit, and we're not taking the necessary precautions to protect these bases and to protect the American people.
Well, I mean, there's also, a weakened situation to to admit. I mean, for the longest time, General Jack Keane has been telling us on this program repeatedly for years that we are outgunned, we are outmanned when you look at our Navy versus the Chinese Navy. I mean, the Pentagon released its 2024 China Military Power Report yesterday. It found that Beijing is increasing its military pressure on Taiwan. It's ramping up its aggression in the South China Sea. It's deepening its ties with Russia, and its crackdown on military corruption may have disrupted progress toward its 2027 modernization goal. China also growing its nuclear arsenal, adding at least 100 nuclear warheads to its stockpile over the past year, with 600 plus already in the arsenal. That number could grow to over 1,000 by 2030, Gordon. And yet there's no response ever from the Biden-Harris administration to Beijing's behavior. We allowed the spy balloon to traverse the country for a week before shooting it down. Why aren't they shooting down these drones in the air if they suspect they're from China?
There's no good answer. You have base commanders, first of all, don't have the authority, and they don't have the equipment to shoot down these drones. And the Chinese are noticing this, which means they see a big vulnerability. And with those nuclear warheads, Maria, China is building up its arsenal not to deter. It already has enough warheads to deter. It's building up its arsenal so that it can coerce us and others into not doing things like defending Taiwan. They saw the way Biden reacted to Vladimir Putin's nuclear threats before the invasion of Ukraine. They saw that they worked, and the Chinese are going to do the same thing when they go after the Philippines, Japan, Taiwan, whomever.
Well, I want to look at what's happening on the ground. A Chinese man was arrested in 2023 for allegedly running a secret Chinese police station in New York City. He pled guilty yesterday to acting as an illegal foreign agent, Gordon. He's now facing 5 years in prison. He and his partner allegedly opened this police station back in 2022 to track and intimidate Chinese dissidents living in the United States. Both were caught deleting communications with an official from the Chinese Ministry of Public Security after learning that they were, in fact, under investigation. Gordon, you've been talking about this for so many years, these police stations. You first broke the news on this program years ago that Beijing had set up these police stations in America. Again, no response from Biden for years on police station. Why would we need Beijing police stations in New York City?
Like a big eyeball. Truth be told.
That's how Matthew Holt describes what he saw Sunday night. News 2 hasn't confirmed what these lights are.
Many of you across South Florida have been sending into our newsroom videos of what look to be like drone sightings. But how can you tell that what you're seeing is really a drone? Well, we took our eyes to the skies.
It was like a flashing white-green light. And we followed it, and I pulled over, and that's when I took out my camera.
This video Rebecca Davila shot on her phone in Plantation shows what she believes to be drones in the sky.
So there was no noise. We usually feel the airplanes here really loud, where we can actually, it kind of shakes a little bit our home sometimes because they take off from the airport. So there was no noise. It was very quiet. And also that circle of light was pulsating, and it was getting brighter. And I even took pictures, and it didn't look like a planet or a star. It looked like something very different that my eye has ever seen.
And miles away in Sweetwater, Eric Stanley saw something similar.
And then I saw all the weird colors, and I was like, this doesn't look like a drone to me. Like, it's more like a plasma ball.
Sightings of what looked to be like orbs and drones, like this spotting near the 79th Street Causeway, leaving people confused.
What else would it be?
Reports of unexplained drone sightings across America have many concerned, including here in Oklahoma.
We've been getting reports of mysterious drones here in the metro.
The mysterious drones, which have caused so much anxiety and constant media attention, you said if it's not a craft from outer space, and I think that has to be on the table, so are you not ruling out aliens?
Oh, well, absolutely. I think everything's on the table. I mean, I've been in some briefings where specifically about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were in a SCIF in a classified setting, and I can't share what shapes these are. But there are actually 2 specific shapes that have been, there was footage and photographs of them in the skies that the federal government, the U.S. federal government, cannot identify and don't know what they are. So I think that all options are on the table. With regard to the drones, I think it's very clear it's the U.S. government. I think it's very clear the U.S. government is lying to the American people and to Congress because we don't really know what's going on. I do believe that at least Congress has the right to know so we can pacify some of the safety concerns and fears that people have all along the eastern seaboard.
So when the Biden team says there's no national security threat here, you're still skeptical?
I am very skeptical. I don't believe anything the White House, the Biden administration says at this point. I don't think anybody should.
Okay.
It's perplexing.
Mysterious sightings have continued across the United States, some even being spotted in Oklahoma. Sherry Rogers lives in Midwest City. She says she saw a drone Thursday night.
It was bright lights, and they were pulsing. They would go dim, and then they would go bright. You know, it was just kind of hovering there.
Rogers says that was the first time she's ever seen an unmanned aircraft.
That's the first thing that occurred to us, was that it was a drone sighting.
Well, the buzz around mysterious flying objects is gaining traction in Middle Tennessee as several people in Murfreesboro say they saw bright lights hovering in the night sky yesterday.
Drones in the sky. The FAA, DHS, FBI, and DOD have said that there is no national security threat, but they did confirm there have been some drones seen flying near or over military installations.
And some people in South Florida have claimed to have seen them in their own backyards.
That is wild. Gazing up at the night sky, now a focal point of conversation. Reports of drone sightings across the country are climbing, and some are voicing concerns.
Not a commercial airliner. It's hovering. It's sitting right there.
From Hernando Beach. That is not a plane. That is so low. To this sighting in St. Pete.
Definitely keep your eyes to the sky, and there's something interesting happening.
Diego Paul captured it on camera and now looking for answers. Alarming?
That is definitely alarming. The fact that they haven't been able to determine what it is.
It wasn't making any sound. So that seemed a bit unusual to me.
Ray Eckstein was in New Tampa when he saw this flying in the sky.
We have people in authority that are telling us on the one hand that there's nothing to worry about, and then on the other hand, that they don't know what they are.
It appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully.
Matthew Holt, who lives in Murfreesboro, says he walked outside after work to see these bright lights in the air near Interstate 24, and he's not the only one curious to find out what these objects might be.
We need to know where is this coming from, who is behind this, what type of information are they trying to gather.
I reached out to retired FBI Assistant Director Frank Figluzzi about the federal response to these sightings. While he says drone sightings will become more common as drones become increasingly more popular, he says he's in favor of more regulation and intelligence sharing.
Even I am uncomfortable that once we've ruled out, say, a foreign threat, a national security threat, I still see a gap here. I see a gap in our government and the ability to take accountability, centralized one agency accountability, and the ability to track and trace the origin of a drone.
Mr. Figluzzi also says communication across federal, state, and local governments would also improve transparency. Tipton wasn't available for an interview, but says in a statement, the activity happening in New Jersey and across the country is unsettling. While we've only had a few reports of drone activity in Oklahoma, we want to be ready in case the need arises.
We have the capability to shoot it down. We just won't, or we can't, right? And then somebody brought up a really good point. Well, so the White House position was, well, we don't want to endanger the public, right? If we shoot one of these down, it come down, it could hit somebody's house. And yet there's these incidents with the U.S. Coast Guard where you have up to 10 of these things literally stalking a U.S. Coast Guard cutter. And you're out in the middle of the ocean. Why can't you bring it down there, right? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. It's the explanation of, oh, by the way, these are all lawful, so don't shoot them down, but we don't know where they're coming from. We don't know who owns them. We don't know where they're going. We don't know what they can do. And they are oversensitive military installations. I think is not only utter nonsense, I think it's a disservice to the American people.
So the FAA issuing a ban on drones over key areas of New York and New Jersey as the mystery over those sightings continues. Now, local officials, they want more answers from the federal government, and they want more information. Now, Pequannock Township Mayor Ryan Hurd is among those pushing for answers. He says the drones pose an invasion of privacy to local residents.
Do I buy it? Absolutely not. See, here's the problem. You know, we are now almost 2 weeks into this since I penned the letter 2 weeks ago Sunday, and we had 21 mayors that actually signed that letter. Up until now, there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of posturing, but there has been no action. We still have no idea what's going on. You know, I do think we know. I think our administration currently is absolutely useless. That's the difference between the current administration and the administration that is coming in. 2 weeks ago, Trump said that the federal government knows exactly who this is and what they're doing. And that's fine. Why don't they tell us? If it's some kind of operation to remap something or whatever, that's fine. But now we're weeks into this. And the biggest issue is this. When we're not answering the American public's questions.
And we'll see what happens come mid-January. Ryan Hurd, I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. And hopefully we get some answers for you and others wondering what the heck's going on up there.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Dr. Greer, great to have you back on. Appreciate you making time for us. On Wednesday night, you told me about 6 different black sites that have been running illegal UAP and UFO projects, and that they will be coming forward within the next 30 days before Inauguration Day. My question, coming forward with what?
Well, what their intention is to, at least the primary organizer of that, who is a senior operator at 2 black sites in the high desert out west. He is heading this up with us and with his team, and he has 6 other black sites. Now, I don't know how many of these men will actually be coming forward. He and a few of his special forces operators will be coming forward publicly, meaning name, rank, serial number, and their involvement. Now, what I've heard, if he can do this, he's planning on releasing the proof, the video, photographs of the downing of extraterrestrial vehicles, or NHI, non-human intelligence craft, as well as the man-made ones, and some other operations that are a little more disturbing. And that this is something that he plans to do, he said, by early January. And of course, now this is already the 20th of December. So it's certainly within the next few weeks.
Can I ask you, Dr. Greer, disturbing how?
Well, some of the programs have involved setting up what's called a TFR, a temporary flight restriction is what that stands for, over these black sites. And when they are preparing to either, number one, test a man-made UFO, which looked very much like a non-human one, because the reverse engineering is that advanced now. And number two, when they are targeting a non-human craft, which there's some very advanced technologies being used to do that. And these include illegal electromagnetic pulse weapons and other advanced energy weapons.
So you're saying these black op groups have electromagnetic pulse weapons?
Yeah, and those are banned by the nuclear non-proliferation treaty,
Dr. Greer,
of course.
do you draw a connection between Joe and Kamala suddenly returning to the White House without advance notice?
Extremely classified document dealing with religion, and it's about that thick, period. But why would there be any classified material dealing with religion?
I want to go back to the religion thing. I want you to say it.
Oh, come on, that's so weird. That's a lie.
I'm not asking you to say what you believe to be a fact. I'm asking you to say what you read in a report that that is distributed at what may be the most top secret facility in the world. Okay. All right.
All right, I'll say it. It's so far out.
All right, your objection has been noted.
Okay.
What does it say?
That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers.
Containers of?
Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers. And that's how we're mentioned in the documents. That religion was specifically created so we have some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers.
The souls? Meaning,
well, the souls or the bodies, whatever. Right? That's
meaning like we're containers for souls that they're going to use at some other point.
Right.
And that they had something to do with different prophets and biblical figures.
Yes.
What?
Well, that supposedly Jesus and two other beings were genetically engineered. They were implanted in people on Earth in biblical times, and their births were closely monitored. Now, just some little connections to that my wife had brought up were In the Bible, they said that the star had followed Mary wherever she went, and that all UFO sightings always start out as people, well, gee, that looks like a bright star, and well, in fact, they said in the Bible, the brightest star in the sky followed her where she went, and just make little connections like that. Okay. I don't know what else to touch on about.
Well, I do know that there is, from military operators, we know personally, a sort of heightened state of urgency or emergency because, and I think this could be sort of another diversion, although a real threat, of something that's gone loose that they're looking for, either a terrorist bomb, a dirty bomb, something like that these drones are looking for. But my understanding is all of that has been unleashed as a diversion and to create fear and chaos prior to this group of defectors, because the main leader of that group has been meeting with some senior people on Capitol Hill in very closed meetings in SCIFs, Secure Communication Information Facilities. I have been doing that as well, and he has also met with some Pentagon folks. So,
have you been in touch with the president-elect or his team in any way?
Yes, not directly with President Trump, but people very close to him and people who are nominees for his cabinet.
On Wednesday, you told me that you have seen alien biologics. We're talking about alien bodies not of this earth. Some, you said, are about 1.5 feet tall, others closer to 10 feet tall. What else can you tell us about their appearance?
Well, they come from, as I understand it, from various star systems, and none of them are hostile.
And you've seen these with your own eyes?
I've seen the images and the photographs, and we've had a few expeditions where we've seen the actual beings that have appeared on operations that I've been part of out in remote areas.
Describe them.
And, well, we have some interesting pictures. There was one that occurred in Arizona, where I'm headed actually soon, in a couple hours, and it was about 5 feet tall, had a very unusual head, large eyes, and a beak-like nose. You know, I could actually send that photograph to you. It was at night, and we were doing an operation out in a remote area above Tucson in the mountains. So this is something we've been doing for about 30 years, trying to see if we can make contact with these civilizations, and we've had a number of extraordinary events happen. But in the case of these black sites, you know, most of these, as I understand it, they call them biologicals, whether they're, you know, even when they shoot down a civilian aircraft, which this is one of the horrible things this man and his team feel terrible about. When they put, this is a big FAA flight safety thing I'm going to tell you, it's going to come out, I might as well give you a warning now. When they put these TFRs up, temporary flight restrictions, if a small civilian aircraft, like a private jet or a private aircraft, strays into that area, they hit it and they take it out, they incinerate it, there's no trace of it.
Okay,
and
let me just stop you.
He's very emotional.
I just want to make sure we're all that's remarkable. They'll shoot.
Well, it's horrible.
It is horrible.
Yeah, I'm a doctor. I'm a trauma doctor, so I'm looking at this as a medical guy too, and it was like, my God.
I can only imagine.
So my concern is if it's not craft from outer space, because I think that has to be on the table. That has to be an option. Is it our technology, or is it Russia or Iran or China? Is there someone who's winning the arms race, and are we behind? Because my question is about national security, and I hope that it's us. I hope that it's not our adversaries or something from outside the universe.
And this all seemed to start Roswell, 1947, alien spaceship crash in New Mexico. Allegedly, the government recovered a flying saucer and alien bodies. Dr. Greer, if these things can fly millions of light years to get here, why are they crashing when they get here?
They're not crashing. They're being downed. Even back in the 40s, we had early.
So they have technology where they can travel light years, but they get to good old planet Earth and we're bringing them down? That seems a little far-fetched.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was rare back at that point, but it's become more refined. The weapon systems are more refined.
Why are we bringing them down, and why are they not retaliating?
Because they're fundamentally not hostile. I mean, there's no question. I tell people, if people knew 1% of what this team coming forward knew about what we have been doing, and we have captured some of these beings alive, and they're still in captivity, we're wanting them to be liberated.
Can these beings communicate? Can they communicate? Do they look humanoid? Do they look like you and I? Or do they look like what we see on Ancient Aliens, little gray men? Sorry, go ahead.
No, the ones that look like that actually are in a sense, mechanical biological drones that look like aliens. So you hear about the mutilations of cattle and the abductions. That's a psyop. I have a document, and actually Dr. Jacques Vallée has a document from the CIA from 1985 talking about using these sort of little robotic creatures and the man-made craft to engage in abductions. I mean, it's a utterly absurd stagecraft, as it's called.
Do you buy into the alien abduction narrative?
Well, I mean, I think people have had some limited contact, but the abductions as they're portrayed, those are being done by a covert human operation. No doubt. We can prove that.
Are you concerned for your safety, Dr. Greer?
Yeah, and so is my family, but that's old news. I mean, I started getting death threats years ago, but that's just the way it is.
Just a quick one. Why do these men from these black programs, why are they going to defect now and unmask all of this now before a presidential election? Why now?